Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with River Brown, John Carlos, and John Tortorelli. And this is now episode 494. This is going to be a jam-packed episode. We haven't recorded one in a while. And the sense of urgency is there. There's so much to talk about. NBA free agency winners and losers from free agency, talking about the biggest storylines that are happening in the NBA that are going to lead to next season. Like, is Giannis closer or further away from leaving Milwaukee after they signed Miles Turner? Are the Lakers contenders after bringing in dominating? Hawks or Magic, who's more likely to contend in the East? And in the West, who's a bigger threat to OKC, the Rockets or the Nuggets? And we have some NFL content as well. We know the Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey and John Smith trade happened. John is not very happy about that. And then we're going to predict our NFL breakout offense and defense. This is now episode 494. If you guys are listening or watching, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Fellas, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here.
Like your outfit.
Thank you, man. I got an engagement party coming up after this, so dressed a little bit spiffy.
You gonna drink?
We'll see. Yeah. Had a great 4th of July. Happy Independence Day, late Independence Day. And today we have a good variety of topics, so I couldn't be more excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here. Summer League starts today, so you get that type of vibe. JC, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna be a good show. I've seen the topic list. It looks fun. I feel like our top 10 post NBA teams are gonna be fun. I struggled with that. I'll be honest. Combining the East and West was really hard.
Heard your worst top 5.
No. I did not. I just did my top 5, but it could be creeping in 9 or 10. We'll see though.
Is it just me or do I think like the West has so much more better teams than the East?
Yeah.
I have 2 teams in the East.
Wow.
In my top 10.
That's a little bit less than I have.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm excited to listen to your guys' teams. Now, John Carlos is here. He's filling in for Drew. Drew had a compromise that he had to go attend to. But this entire week, we've been trying to like schedule our schedules to align and record. And really, since Monday, we really haven't been able to do that. So I'm glad that we're recording Saturday and we're able to have some content out for you guys. This is going to be a jam-packed episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. And JC, your Nets. I mean, we haven't had you on in a while. And your Nets, losers of the draft, but you guys are tanking, so it shouldn't matter, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have that much of an issue with some of the picks. I mean, I know they were all developmental picks, but we have our pick for next year. Hopefully we can stay the course this year and not win 26 games and fall to the 8th pick, kind of not, I don't want to say concerned. Some Nets fans are concerned. I want to know what's going on with Cam Thomas. I want to know if we let him walk or if he stays.
He has no market, so
yeah, so he's probably going to stay. But like I said, if the Nets can just lose games and develop some of these players, I feel like everybody we drafted except I think Ben Simmons is going to stay overseas if I'm not mistaken. If I'm mistaken, someone correct me in the comments, but I would just like this to be a developmental year. I like us to get better. I like Jordi Fernandez to grow as a coach. And, hopefully we can successfully get in the top 5. But, with how the NBA is and how all these great teams that already have generational talents somehow keep falling into the top 3, it's like we're kind of put into a hard, hard place. But I don't think this team roster-wise is good enough to contend for anything, even given how weak the Eastern Conference is. So just a developmental year. Hope everybody gets better. And, I just hope we can successfully land a top 4 pick. I mean, we do have our pick this year in the draft coming up. So
Michael Porter Jr., that has to be exciting.
I guess. I mean, I've been in a lot of Nets spaces just hearing certain Nets fans' takes on it. And it's like a lot of people think that we're going to flip him. A lot of people think we're going to take him. I'm of the mindset, I don't think he's a core part of our future, to be honest with you, even though he's slightly younger than Cam Johnson.
Is he like around the same age as Nick Claxton or nah?
He's around
he's like 26,
27. Yeah, so I don't know. I kind of feel like the same thing might happen this year in terms of like what happened with Dennis Schroeder. Nets were off to a pretty decent start, kind of messing up the tank a little bit, and then they pulled the plug and traded. So I think if Michael Porter Jr., if we're out here winning games and messing up our draft stock in a stacked draft, I feel like he is going to get traded. So we'll see.
Apparently, Ben Simmons has an opportunity to play for Summer League and his Israelite team. Israel team. Sorry if I said it wrong. I said Israelite. But he would be, so in Vegas, he'll be rotating minutes and others without the guard, stuff like that. His international play, he's already played 4 games for Israel in the Eurobasket qualifiers, averaging 8, 3, and 2 steals. He was a part of the team last year, and he also will be at the Summer League. So he's getting a ton of experience before his NBA debut. So that's exciting.
Tonight is the start of NBA Summer League, and you guys can get in on the action by using PrizePicks. PrizePicks has a lot of different lines out for Summer League. So on PrizePicks, Khalil Ware, 17 points, more or less tonight. You have Carter Bryant, 10.5 points. You have Kasparis with the Heat, 12 points, more or less. A lot of the rookies are here. Bronny James at 12.5 points, more or less. I've seen some videos of Bronny James in the gym working. It seems like he's ready to take a major step in his game.
Absolutely. He, offensively speaking, struggled last year in Summer League, but being a year 2 player, you can definitely see him playing more confident. So 12.5 might not be a bad line.
And Nikola Topic is playing 11.5 points, more or less. That's exciting. The OKC, they won an NBA championship, and they have a first-round pick, and Nikola Topic is coming in and playing for the first time because he redshirted because of his ACL injury coming into his rookie year, and he's playing tonight. So that's exciting.
Absolutely.
So you guys can get on the action. You guys use code PAS and play $5 and get $50 on PrizePicks. They have a 30% payout boost if you win in your lineup that you can take advantage of. It is, I think, expires in 10 hours. So by the time this podcast comes out, there'll be like maybe 2 or 3 hours left to opt in a lineup. So if you guys want to help support the podcast and go on PrizePicks and play, you can. Let's get into the winners of NBA free agency. Let's start with the winners.
Before we do that, I did see this report about how it was about Jonathan Kuminga and Josh Giddey, that Kuminga's getting sign and trade talks from Sacramento and the Wizards, and Giddey's getting no talks, so they're gonna have to probably extend him for like $30 million a year.
You think that the Bulls are gonna extend him for that amount of money when there's nobody bidding for him?
It's the Bulls.
I'd be shocked.
Valid point,
It's
because
the Bulls.
the entire 2021 draft class might be one of my losers, because a lot of those guys like Grimes, Cam Thomas, Giddey, and Kuminga all are kind of in that restricted free agency kind of cycle where no one has money to pay them, and because of that, they can just lowball them because there's no one else in the market. That being said, it's the Chicago Bulls, so that might.
I could see him getting 22, 20. He should get like 22, 23.
We see teams do it. The Toronto Raptors come to my mind where nobody was actively seeking Emmanuel Quickly, and they paid him $30 million.
35,
Nobody was actively seeking out Scotty Barnes, and they gave him a max. He is their best player in the All-Star, so I understand that. And then they recently extended Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah, that one was that was a lot of money.
When does he come off the books?
Jakob?
5 years.
Well, now
They gave him
since he got an
25 a year?
extension,
When did they extend him?
Literally last
like
week
a
ago.
week ago.
Last week?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why in 2K. All right, man. I was
Yeah,
I was
last week they
building on the
extended him.
contract.
So
It's weird.
Jakob Poeltl, like he's extended. So the Raptors, they're not bidding against anybody. They're just paying all their players.
Nope.
They have no direction. So I have faith in the Bulls. We'll talk about it later, but I have faith in the Bulls that they're not gonna overpay Giddey. I don't think he's getting paid $30 million.
25.
I don't think there's gonna be a report that says Josh Giddey 4 years, 120. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'd be
You think
shocked.
25?
Nah, man. I would just let him play on a qualifying offer. If he's not accepting a
He's
team,
definitely getting a contract.
if he's
extension.
not playing for $20 million a season, I'm not giving him a deal. I'm not inking it. If it's 4 years for 80, I will do it.
Mhm.
Anything more than that, I'm not gonna do it.
Okay. That's
As
interesting.
Giddey or the Bulls?
If I'm the Bulls,
You-
like if I'm the Bulls, I would say my ideal contract would be 3 years, team
90?
or player option at the
I can see
last
390 with the last year being a player off team option.
That's a lot of money.
$30 million a year for Josh Giddey is crazy.
Yo, it's crazy to us, but we have to understand who the Chicago Bulls are and who have they been for the last 5-6 years. They don't make good decisions.
Where do you have a Giddey in like the point guard, like top
Might be
25,
top 30.
top 30?
It's gonna be top
Like
30.
top 30.
He's top 30.
Y'all think he's better than like Emmanuel Quickly or not?
I mean, we saw Emmanuel could get 35, so
Yeah, that's the
Quickly
only
might
thing I
be
can
that
understand
point
why you're a
where
little
I'd rank
shaky
like,
about that.
Giddey's taller, probably a better passer.
Sheesh, I can
His
see why you
back,
could say he might get 30.
his back end of the year was probably better than IQ's back end of the year.
For sure.
So, like, could I see it? Could I see a world where they're like, hey, we're the Bulls. We don't have shit. Giddey can be a star. Let's give him 30 mil. Yeah, I can like legitimately see the Bulls doing that.
But if they were to do it, don't you think it would have happened already?
Nah,
Because they've had so much time to already ink him.
I don't think it's a rush. Like, I don't think it's a rush. Like, I think they can sit on their ass and just wait for it. Like, they're not good at asset management. So You know,
we'll see.
I
definitely
agree.
aren't gonna
I
asset
agree with you.
management.
I've been saying, brother, he shouldn't get $30 million. Like Giddey.
What would you pay Giddey?
I personally wouldn't pay him, but if I had to pay him, I like your what was it? 4 years 80. I like 4 years 80.
Or 4 years 120?
No, I ain't giving 4 years 120. 4 years 80 was that 20?
Wait, no, 4 years 120.
It's 20 a
30,
year.
60, 90. Yeah, facts. You're right.
So
4 years 80.
is 20 a year. So I'd give him 20
I think that's
a year.
reasonable.
That's valid. Like, all right, 20 a year. That's cool. But then even then, you're still paying him, and you're hoping that wasn't a fluke of what he did towards the back end of the year. So
Giddey might be top 20. Luka, Shea, Steph, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese, Cade, Trey, Kyrie, Garland, Dame. That's 10. Dame's out, so you could remove him. John Morant's 10. Maxey, Fox, Harden, LaMelo, Jamal Murray, Drew Holiday, and Simons. I would say is better. Kobe White. And then again, the Van Vliet tier around like number 19.
shit.
Van Vliet,
He's getting 20 mil.
TJ McConnell. There's some good guys.
Hey,
that kind
Andrew
of-
Nemhart or Giddey?
I would take Nemhard. Yeah,
Alright.
Nemhard I don't have on here. I
Okay.
could add him in. So yeah, definitely top 3.
Suggs.
Suggs, I had him as a shooting guard, but he's a point guard. He really
Well,
that's where he
either
plays
him
the
or
game.
Bain, so they win
So,
regardless. I feel
Yes,
like.
that's we're at 21 and counting
Yeah.
now. So 21 and counting.
Did you count Trey Young? You said Trey Young.
Yeah,
You said Fox too, right?
yeah. There's definitely
Okay,
some.
yeah.
Are we just putting Dylan Harper? Or just we think he's just flat?
Yeah, I'll take Dylan Harper.
Okay.
Me too.
All right, yeah, that's valid. Yeah, no, that's about right.
You guys were disrespectful to De'Aaron Fox last episode.
Who's y'all?
You and Drew acting like it
What
was
did I
just
say?
a foregone conclusion that he's not going to be on a team.
What did I say? What did I say?
You said, is he going to be on a team in 5 years?
I didn't say that. Oh, 5 years? That's a legit question.
Drew said, is he going to be on a team?
Drew
This
is being
upcoming season.
that's more disrespect. 5 years is a legit question.
Y'all was acting like Dylan Harper needed a start.
Nah, don't put y'all. You don't put y'all in that.
You
Don't put-
were.
Nah, it wasn't me. It was literally Drew. I was just like, I can see a world where he starts, he doesn't start.
It reminded me of the conversation we had 2 years ago when you guys swore up and down to me that Scoot was going to start over Anthony Simons.
I feel like that
I
was.
remember that.
I really wish Scoot would have started because like they were shit. You know what I'm saying? Spurs have an opportunity to be a playing team, so I guess not starting him. And plus, with all due respect to Anthony Simons, him and Fox, it's such a complete
it's a
different level.
gap.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but like to say if Fox is on the team in the next 5 years, I don't think that's disrespectful at all.
No, I don't think it is.
1 year was crazy. I don't know about that, but 5.
The Spurs got a chance to take a major leap.
You're hoping
I'm
for it.
excited. I mean, I am. You know how big of a Wemby fan I am.
You're not, but here we go.
Wemby. I mean, generational talent. All right, let's get into NBA free agency winners. Let's start off with you, Riv. Who's one of your NBA free agent winners? We're just going to go round table and give one winner each. And maybe there might be some double dipping here, but there's a lot of teams that won, so maybe not.
No, I feel like John's gonna go Orlando route. So I'll go the Atlanta route. I feel like they're definitely the winners of the draft and getting Kristaps Porzingis in the deal, which essentially for nothing. It's a tricky slope because I feel like Porzingis is a guy who's injury prone, but if he is playing, I feel like he fits perfectly in what Atlanta wants to do. First of all, start with managing to keep the guys they have. You kept Dyson. You bring back Double O. Jalen Johnson coming back is a W. Bless you. Is a
Where
W.
did that
Yeah,
come
that was nuts. It didn't even sound like a sneeze.
Yeah.
Bringing back Double J is dope because he missed half the year last year, so that's a win in itself. Outbidding the Detroit Pistons for Naw, I think that was important. Being able to move off Capella to get Naw was dope. Getting a 2026 first round pick from the New Orleans Pelicans that could be extremely valuable next year. Bringing in Asa Newell in the draft, I think he's a really good player. Bringing in Luke Kennard for a cool little 1 year, $11 million deal for some depth pieces. Atlanta was able to just fill out the roster, and I think that's important. And I think for Atlanta, they looked at the East and they're like, Indiana's out, Boston's out, Cavs are always injured. It's really just the most stable team right now is probably the Knicks. That's the most stable because you know what you're getting at that starting 5. Everybody else is trying to figure things out. Even Orlando's not extremely stable. You're still trying to figure stuff out. So for Atlanta, the stability with them is Trae Young is going to propel them to a top 12 offense. They're going to be a playing team. So why not improve off that? And I think they have improved off that. And they're probably going to be one of those teams which we could overrate, we could underrate. But I think for me, they're probably the winner of the NBA free agency.
Valid.
So, John, is Riv right? Do you have Orlando?
Well, no, Orlando wasn't my team. I've got a list, though, and they're one of them. The Hawks shout is amazing because of the fact, for as much as they add in a win now, they get one of the best draft assets for next year. The Pelicans, in the state of this Western Conference, are a bottom 2 or 3 team. And when you look at the track record of their new basketball executive, Troy Weaver, Troy Weaver is the one in Detroit who got the first overall pick, then went with a zero shooting approach, won 74 games in 4 seasons, and then ended up having the Pistons a 14-win team when Cade got back healthy. That's the guy who's trading the Pelicans' first-round pick next year to try to be competitive. So for that, I feel the Hawks got maybe one of, if not the best, trading chip moving into next all seasons. That's a great pick.
Who's your winner?
I like the Nuggets. I like what the Nuggets did a lot this offseason. I like them flipping Michael Porter for Cam Johnson. They save some salary cap, and I believe at this stage in their careers, I feel like there's not much of a difference between them. Obviously, Michael Porter is a better rebounder. Cam Johnson is, in my opinion, every bit as good as a shooter. I mean, last year with Brooklyn, he was shooting 40%, and a lot of it was off pin downs, off curls, so there wasn't much catch and shoot opportunities. But Cam Johnson, I believe there was a season with the Suns where he shot like 45% with catch and shoot. So I think he was an upgrade for sure. I think he can put the ball down better. I think he can attack defenses better. I think defensively he's also better, more engaged, more locked in. I'm not saying he's like a lockdown guy, but he can definitely move his feet and defend well. I like the Bruce Brown signing just because of the familiarity with them, him coming back to a team that he won a championship with. Obviously, we don't know what Bruce Brown's coming back because it's been about, like 2 years since he's been there, so we don't know. I didn't watch much Raptors games at all this year. I don't know if he's regressed as a player. I'm not sure, but I would think that just, his role will be the same with the just cut to the basket, defend, help on the glass. I like Tim Hardaway signing as well because I feel like he helps with their shooting. Obviously, he's a good jump shooter. Sometimes he's really streaky because in the playoffs against New York, he was kind of
one of them games though. That boy was shooting that shit.
It definitely helps to get shooters around the best playmaker, best player in the world in Jokic. And I like the Valanciunas one. I like him having a backup center. Yeah, I was just about to say that. He might.
Jonas.
Yeah, he might go. He might go overseas.
John, DeRon Holmes, we're here.
Yeah, and if he does get his contract bought out to play in Greece, the Nuggets get a full $14 million mid-level exception.
No, he's just. Oh, okay.
If he plays in Greece, the Nuggets get the full MLE for $14 million.
If I'm Al Horford and I'm weighing my options between the Nuggets or the Warriors, it's a no-brainer for where I want to go. I would go to Denver.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it's unfortunate like that. That's not gonna have life works.
If Denver gets Al Horford,
cool,
let's just
live in Denver.
Let's just live under like the hypothetical that Al Horford goes to Denver. If Al Horford goes to Denver,
it's lit.
I love that.
It's lit. Of course, we're speaking of people that don't play basketball and that we live in Hackensack, New Jersey. But Al Horford loves to bet.
I thought that was really important. I'm getting a backup, though. I mean, DeAndre Jordan was getting freaking playoff minutes last year. I mean, he's freaking cooked.
The fact that DeAndre Jordan is still in the league is crazy to me, bro.
So
I like, bro, I be forgetting he's in the league.
I like what Denver did, though. I like them taking on getting rid of the Michael Porter Jr. contract, obviously attaching a late 2032 first. So that contract was able kind of help their cap to get other players, you know what I'm saying? So I think they had a great offseason. I like what they did. I think they improved. And like I said, they went game 7 with the defending champions with MPJ having a messed up shoulder, Aaron Gordon not having the most reliable hamstring. I think it was a grade 2. So I like what they did.
I have a question about that trade. Do we feel like Brooklyn overvalued Cam Johnson? Because I feel like for the past let's say 2 years. For the past 2 years, he's been dangling in some trade talks. There's been moments where they could have got 3 firsts, 4 firsts. And of course, for certain teams, picks are overrated. I agree. I think for certain teams like Denver, teams like, OKC, I can't even say them because they have a shit ton. But just for certain teams, picks are overrated because they want to win now. For a team like Brooklyn, you probably value those type of picks. And there's been conversations where Cam could have went for 3 or 4, and then they end up with just a 2031 pick and 2032. So it's some young kid in 4th grade right now who could be a stud. And Michael Porter Jr.
That's a great asset.
Which one?
The 2032.
Potentially.
Yeah, because Jokic is going to be 36 by the time that pick.
Some shit
he's
like
going to be
fruition.
older. He definitely might be out of his prime. So
yeah, for sure.
Like if the Nuggets are not good that year, the Nets might come up on a very valuable pick.
That's so far.
It is very far, though. I get what you're saying, though. It's very far.
And that pick's 7 years out. It may be a 6th or 7th grader, but a lot of the time the quality of the pick is more important than the quantity of them.
Sure.
If you're getting 2 first-round picks, a lot of the time the second pick has like a lottery-protected stipulation and disintegrates in the seconds a year later. That Nugget selection is a great asset when over half a decade from now, the entirety of this team can be completely different.
Yeah. What if it's not? Like, what if Denver is still good
That's
in
why it's called a
2032?
lottery.
They retool
Yeah.
and
No, what if
they
I'm saying? What if
become-
they're still good in 2032? Like,
Oof.
still
If
a
I'm the
playoff
Nets,
team.
that's a bet I'm willing to take.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
that's a lottery,
sure.
taking a shot.
I'd rather get that than I'd rather get the 2032 pick than get a 2026 and 2028 first from Denver. Like I'd rather get that
Yeah,
one
for
pick
sure.
than get two where
for
I
sure,
know
for
that Jokic isn't like he's still playing at a very high level. I think the Nuggets were winners. I think the Hawks were winners. I think the obvious one is the Houston Rockets. I think the Rockets got so much better. They won 51 games and they replaced Jalen Green as the first option as a scorer with Kevin Durant. They got Dorian Finney-Smith, and then they also signed Clint Capella. I think the Rockets are already looking towards the future in playoff matchups with them having Şengün, Steven Adams, and Clint Capella. We know that OKC, they're defending champions, but you also have to worry about Denver. And I thought that the Rockets having three centers that can match up with Jokic and be a big body down there, I think they got those three for that type of scenario. But Kevin Durant is still playing at a top 10 level. He's still an elite player. With me, I think the Rockets' X factor is just Amen Thompson and how much he can grow as a player in his third year. But the Rockets were by far and away winners. John, what was your team? You had a list of them. So
I did
what's
have a
another one
list.
that
The
you
last team was your team. I'm shocked you didn't go with your Knicks. You got Gershon Yabusele for 2 years, $12 million. Jordan
I had
Clarkson
them.
off the bench. But then the hiring of Mike Brown. To me
So
was
no
the best.
Magic.
The Magic were like the fifth team of my list.
It makes sense
We'll
though
talk
because
about them.
the Magic offseason winners, you could say that. But if it's only free agency,
They just made one move.
They
which
just
was
got
sign
Tyus Jones,
It was
yeah.
a good acquisition. But the Knicks, I felt hiring Mike Brown, which was kind of right in line with their signings, was an amazing hire. He fits perfectly for someone that in Sacramento maximized limited defensive personnel, got the most of Fox. Sabonis this year was a positive defender with Mike Brown before he got fired. And then, of course, in the offensive end, the Knicks need an injection of pace, ball movement, player movement, and that's what Mike Brown did so well from his time at the Spurs and Warriors. So I love what the Knicks did this offseason. The Rocket shout was great because of the fact that they come into this offseason with a couple of different needs. They needed shooting. They needed a number one. I would, like you talked about in Bleacher Report, I would say that Kevin Durant's maybe not one of your premier number ones. He's not a top 5 player. So maybe there's a case that he's not good enough to get the Rockets over the hump, but he's still a massive step forward. And the Dorian Finney-Smith signing was great. So I love what the Rockets did. And the last thing that I wanted to say, the Clint Capella signing to me was surprising. He gave him 3 years, $21 million. Brook Lopez signed with the Clippers for 2 years, $18 million. If I'm the Rockets, I would have rather given that money to Brook Lopez personally. He's a better player right now. That being said, you're splitting hairs. I thought the Rockets still killed it.
I feel like Brook got that money to be the second guy, though. You know what I'm saying? Clint got that money to be the third guy, and they already had Steven Adams getting, 13 a year? And I feel like them having 3 bigs is dope. Them being able to go small ball, too, is dope, too, with Kevin Durant, because now you have an opportunity to go a whopping Amen, Kevin Durant, Jabari, Tari Eason, whoever, and Dorian Finney-Smith just for spot minutes of just defensive hell. A team that I don't think won, but I felt like they had a good just past month or so is the Charlotte Hornets. Like, just the way they went about in the draft. And, we had all the jokes about them getting guys that play the right way and stuff, but they really brought in guys who legitimately play the right way. Kanupa was a byproduct of like a Desmond Bane type of comp, but just a guy who can do a lot of good things well, plays really good off 2 feet, a good connective passer, good shooter, can make the right decision, plays really well, high IQ type of player. Liam McNeely's a good shooter. Ryan Kalkbrenner. Yeah, good center. Zion James is the only one where I was like, all right, like I feel like they could have went a different direction, but that was like in the second round. Them getting Colin Sexton for essentially really nothing, I think that was dope. Them bringing him in another. At this point, I would say he's like a veteran guard, especially for a team like that who needs that. And I feel like, them getting off of Yusuf Nurkic was dope. Them trading Mark Williams, which they didn't want him, at the deadline. Them still being able to trade him and get a cool little pick for him back. I feel like Charlotte bringing back Trey Mann was cool too. They have a young team. It's really, really young, but at the same time, I like the direction that they went. They didn't go too crazy. They went with the right picks. And they had an interesting a good offseason, I'd say, that I think should get some shout.
Didn't they get somebody else?
They got Spencer
Nah,
Dinwiddie.
it's cool for mentorship.
They have guards like
Yeah.
LaMelo,
Ton of
Sexton, Trey Mann, Dinwiddie.
Their backcourt is an absolute logjam. Trey Mann for 3 years, $24 million was a good value of a contract.
They're going all in on their play style. Shoot a lot of threes, a ton of threes.
It's interesting. They've kind of been scouring for guys that are like low maintenance, high utility role players, and I wouldn't even say Concanoople's a role player. I think he could be like a souped up version, kind of like maybe a lesser version of Desmond Bain. I see a little bit of,
That's not a bad team.
but the backcourt in Charlotte, you've got LaMelo, Brandon Miller, both being healthy next season to start at least. Who knows what happens after the year begins? Concanople, the 4th overall pick. Colin Sexton and Trey Mann off the bench. Trey Mann played 13 games last year, and then you have Dinwiddie. You have Nick Smith Jr. It's probably the most loaded backcourt in the league.
They have a lot of options, and that's what they need because I feel like a lot of the stress was on LaMelo this past year to dribble and drive and create offense for everybody.
Yeah.
So now they have a lot of players that can do that, so that was good. On to NBA free agency losers. I feel like the biggest loser in free agency offseason has pretty easily been the Boston Celtics. They have totally nuked their championship core for valid reasons, getting under the second apron. Drew Holiday gets traded. Kristaps Porzingis gets traded. The return on those two players is Georges Niang, some second-round picks, and Anthony Simons, both probably not long-term fixtures of this team. And then you lose Luke Cornett in free agency. They have a massive hole at center. And now the rumor is that Al Horford is likely heading to the Golden State Warriors. But I think it's pretty clear that he's probably not going back to Boston. So the Celtics have lost Drew, Porzingis, Cornett, Al Horford, and Jason Tatum because he's not playing for the entirety of the year. Like, this team to me is going to be a team that I've been mentioning it all offseason long. If Jalen Brown stubs his toe when he wakes up in the morning, I'm sitting him out for 3 months. Like, my goal this year is to get a top pick in the draft and to have somebody that's promising for when Jason Tatum comes back. I think the Celtics, they're going to be bad. Yeah, I think they're going to maybe have some good moments, but for the most part, like, they're losers in this cycle. And I don't think that they really had any option to really try to improve after Tatum got injured in the playoffs. Once your star player gets injured, I think that is you waving the red flag and saying, okay, next year is a retooling year. It's a gap year to figure out who's going to be around for when Tatum comes back.
This feels like the Warriors in 2020 where you get D'Angelo Russell on the sign trade. This is a developmental season. Whatever you can get. They signed Josh Minon and Luka Garza. And you look at their front court and their top center options right now are Neemias Queta and Garza. I'm sure Dallas is with me on this. The Celtics have the talent, especially in the backcourt. You have Simons and Pritchard together. You have Drew Holiday, you have his other backcourt comment, Derek White and Jalen Brown. There's enough there for the Celtics to be a 40-win team and maybe even be a top 6 seed. That being said, it's not worth it given where this team wants to be when Tatum does return. I wonder if Horford signs a 1-year deal and then maybe comes back on the second year when Tatum returns. He doesn't want to be on a prodding, tanking team for this season. But I thought the Luke Cornett loss was pretty big. 4 years, 41 to go to San Antonio because he was a valuable backup center. And kind of hinging on that no Horford, that's a big question in your front court moving forward. So I would agree with that. But also, I felt the Porzingis return was really lackluster. A second-round pick, Georges Niang. So that to me
was nothing. They got nothing.
That was disappointing to a degree where it's understandable they need to make that move to get under the second apron. I wonder if there's another way they could have spread its salary, whether it's moving Hauser and another contract to potentially keep Porzingis and hope that he raises his value with better health next season. But that was really probably the most disappointing trade return. My biggest loser would have to be, I'm going to take a different spin on this, the 2021 draft class, like I mentioned before. You look at the combination of Quinn Grimes coming off a career year, Josh Giddey coming off his best season, Cam Thomas, who averaged 24 points per game on decent efficiency, and Jonathan Kuminga, who in the postseason, when Jimmy Butler went down, he was the Warriors' best on-ball option on both ends. All 4 of those players have not been given extensions yet at the time of this recording. While I expect them to return to their teams, the majority of them, it's clear because no one has money to spend, these guys are going to be severely lowballed because there's no competitors in the market. So you look at Cam Thomas, I feel like his value is maybe up there as a 20, especially if Josh Giddey, let's say for the longest time, he's been priced in around 25 to close to $30 million for his new contract average. I feel like Cam Thomas deserves the same amount, yet I expect him to get a deal probably similar to Trey Mann, maybe 10, 12 million a year possibly because of how much the Nets can kind of afford to lowball him. So the 2021 draft class to me was a big loser.
It's funny how the Cam Thomas lore has come about.
I don't feel like players should get paid just because they're up to get paid. I think with the CBA now, it's so restrictive that teams have to be smarter about how they spend their money, and spending a boatload of your money on Cam Thomas, on Josh Giddey is not good business. I think you look at deals in the past where the Wizards give Beal a supermax. That's not good business.
Horrible.
It was a terrible contract at the time. The Bulls giving Zach LaVine a supermax. Like, that's bad business. You know, and I feel like the Kings, even though the Kings are basically in no man's land and they are in a bad situation, I think they actually made the right decision not extending De'Aaron Fox and giving him a supermax, because I think he's a great all-star level player, but he's not a supermax type of player. Yeah. So I think that it's okay not to pay those players. You don't have to pay every player that just in the moment seems like the best possible option. And I feel like that's why I have some faith the Bulls are not going to pay Josh Giddey. I have faith the Nets are not going to give Cam Thomas a big contract. I think the most valuable player here is Quentin Grimes pretty easily. And if he is not getting any offer from any team, I just find it very surprising that any other player is going to get a notable deal from any other team. And Jonathan Kuminga is like the wild card, because I feel like because he played with the Warriors, you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe they didn't develop him the best and he can develop in another situation. But he also has shown with the Warriors that he's not much of a winning player. So I think it's a huge gamble. But the Warriors are hoping they can sign and trade him to get some help around Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, because that's the ultimate goal. And Kuminga clearly doesn't fit with those three.
Yeah, it's been conversations with the Kings and the Wizards, so we'll see what happens.
Corey Kispert.
I'm digging Malik Monk. I like Malik Monk personally. Another bucket off the bench. I think that'd be dope. Plus, it'll be around what Kuminga wants anyways, which is about $18-20 million. So
Keegan Murray has been floated. Maybe
I'm good off Keegan. Like really, really good off Keegan.
So if it's Kuminga for Keegan, you're good. You wouldn't take that.
Keegan was really bad last year.
But with the Warriors, you don't think he could revitalize his stock?
I think Warriors want seasoned players. I think Keegan is not he's not as seasoned as like a Malik Monk is. I think Malik Monk is kind of defined and seasoned in what he is. You know what I'm saying? You want winning players around you. I don't think Keegan is not a winning player, so I don't want to make it seem like that's what I'm saying. I think he'll probably do all the winning things that matter. It's just that 3-point shot has fallen off since his rookie year, and that's like pretty detrimental to what they want to do. But yeah, you mentioned it. You made a good point. Like, these guys are up for contracts. It's good to not. You don't want to pay a guy you don't need to pay. I feel like Chicago is the one wild card where they've done the complete opposite of what they should do, and it'd be interesting to see if they finally do the right thing here. As for Golden State, honestly, it's really just Kuminga shouldn't be there. Like, the sides have come to, like, he's not going to get better. He's probably he came in at 18-19, super raw. The team won a title. He has never, when you come in at 19, 18 years old, you want to develop to get you better for your next contract. Kuminga has never gotten the proper tutelage because you have to learn how to play around Steph. That's just simple as that. When you're on Steph's team, you have to learn how to play around Steph. You have to learn to play within the system this team wants to win. So Kuminga can't do that. And it's not really, I don't want to say it's his fault, nobody else's fault. It's just, that's not the type of player he is. So you cannot, it would be a complete failure if Kuminga is on this roster in October, like an absolute complete failure. You cannot have him on this roster. As for Quentin Grimes, I feel like Philly should have been putting that in. That should have been locked in. Quentin Grimes is the perfect winning player. My loser is the Los Angeles Lakers.
Even after LaRavia and Deandre Ayton.
Yeah, that's my.
They improved.
No, they didn't. They didn't. Losing DFS. And then bringing in Jake, it's not an improvement.
Going from DFS to LaRavia and Ayton is an improvement.
DFS is a more valuable player right now than DeAndre.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking Jake was the DFS replacement. That's what it was, because they lost DFS. They brought in Jake. Jake, that's not an improvement. That is a downgrade. That is legit downgrade. Now, I will say going from Hayes to Ayton is definitely an improvement.
And they have Hayes too.
But at the same time, you needed a big that can anchor your defense all year. Deandre Ayton, I know you love him. It's weird that you love him.
I don't love DeAndre Ayton. I just think he's getting underrated.
He's not. He's a bottom
trash.
10. He's a bottom 10
He's not a
basketball.
His responsibility is to clear all the missed assignments and all of the poor lapses.
And to anchor a defense. He cannot do that.
That's not his assignment. That wasn't even Jackson Hayes' assignment when he was starting with the
Lakers. And that was the problem.
That's the issue. You lost DFS. He was the only capable to above average perimeter defender in your top 6.
Did Dorian Finney-Smith help the team at all rebounding the basketball?
How about
Did he
perimeter
help the
defense?
team?
He's
Did he-
guarding the
Because
best.
Ayton has not been a good rebounder.
Did you-
It's been years
Wait,
since
wait,
Ayton's been a
wait,
good
what?
rebounder. It's been a
Wait,
What do you
long
mean? He
time.
just averaged a double-double.
A lot of centers can average
stop
10
with the
rebounds a game.
numbers. Enough.
Just because
with
you
them
average 10
fraud
rebounds
ass
doesn't mean you're
numbers.
Everything-
Matter of fact, you know what?
Every number that would point to rebounder would show that Deandre Ayton's a good rebounder.
DeAndre Ayton is a good rebounder.
I know. He just said he's not a good rebounder.
Oh.
That's why I'm rebuting.
Defensively,
That's up to him.
no. He has
What
not
do you
been
mean?
For years. For years, he hasn't been a good defensive rebounder or rim protector.
Since last year, he's 10th in rebounding per game.
Crying at that.
Since he's entered the NBA, he's top 15 in rebounding per game total, offensive rebounding per game, and defensive rebound per game. His rebounding has not fallen off at all. He is still a 10 to 11 rebounding per game big man. Like, Dorian Finney-Smith did not help the Lakers at all neutralize Gobert when he went for 20 in a playoff game. Yeah, I don't care how bad y'all think DeAndre Ayton is. DeAndre Ayton would not let Gobert go for 20 in a playoff game.
27 and 22 is
Like, what are we
crazy.
doing? Like, DeAndre
Yeah,
Ayton...
Giannis did give 50
We're
on
comparing
the
a
closeout game.
third string center to, you know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
the
Giannis
problem-
became the third player
problem-
last 50 years, had 50 on his head in the finals. 3 players have done it: him, LeBron, and MJ since Jerry West.
It's Giannis. It's Giannis. And a big reason why that 50 happened was because Dario
Giannis.
Saric tore his ACL and Ayton was the only big man. When Ayton was not on the floor, it was Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder trying to neutralize Giannis. Of course he was going to go off for 50. Now, that's a legendary performance, so I don't want to take anything away from that, but like I just feel
do you like advanced
we're,
numbers?
We're yes, I do. I just feel like we're overthinking the Ayton signing. He signed for $10 million per year. That is the best available center that the Lakers were going to get this offseason without having to trade anything. It's better than giving up a first for Nick Claxton.
For
And
sure.
the biggest weakness on the team was that they didn't have a center and they could not
They didn't
rebound
have
the
a center
basketball.
that can anchor a defense.
No.
DeAndre Ayton
Was that
cannot-
the only
They don't need
problem?
more offense. They don't need more offense. They don't need more offense. They do not need
Was that
more
the only problem?
offense. They can't rebound. Yes,
I mean,
Ayton fills that.
okay.
Ayton fills that. Now here's the anchoring problem. Who can guard on the perimeter for the Lakers right now? Answer that. Just answer
It's
that question.
probably LeBron. It's probably LeBron. Vando,
And
LeBron,
Bron is
Vincent.
better right now as a help defender, correct?
Yeah.
And Vando can't play 25 minutes.
I feel as if the Lakers' defensive scheme, even last year, even before DFS got there, their defensive scheme was always about leaving the most vulnerable shooter wide
Correct.
open.
Yes.
And they would just help on gaps. DeAndre Ayton with the Blazers, he didn't play good defensively this past season because they had him in a deep drop. And that was more so a scheme that fit Donovan Clingan's skill set. I think that DeAndre Ayton, he does a good job at not letting centers get behind him for easy lobs. So I think that's where he's going to help defensively. I don't think DeAndre Ayton is a great defender. I think he's an all right defender. I think he's a better option than anybody that they could have gotten. That was a realistic option.
I don't disagree with
and
that. It doesn't mean he's going to solve their problem.
But this why I can't say they're losers though, because the biggest need was center, and they got a capable
It's
center.
not just center.
You lost your one two-way player.
Why are we
outside your
overrating
top
Dorian
three.
Finney-Smith?
He's a 40% three-point shooter.
Oh, wow,
41%.
You
And
lost
capable
DFS.
wing
You're
defender.
losers of the offseason.
You're overrating DeAndre Ayton. as
No,
fuck.
I just think LaRavia and DeAndre Ayton cancel out any loss that DFS had.
LaRavia. Dude, did you even LaRavia?
LaRavia shot 38%.
He took
from
3
with the
attempts.
Kings. He shot 40%
He took 3
with the
attempts.
Grizzlies.
He took 3
He's
attempts.
a good player.
He took 3
He's
attempts.
not a bad player.
He took 3 attempts.
Okay,
didn't
still,
take
but he still shot well. Would you rather him take
didn't-
3
he didn't
attempts and
take-
shoot
When you
bad
take
or
less
shoot
att-
well?
When you take less attempts, the shooting variance is a lot more.
It looks funky
it's
as
a wider
hell.
range.
If I take
that
3
little
attempts,
but
like,
he shot well this past season. And
Yeah, but
Dorian,
that's
and
more
Dorian
susceptible
Finney-Smith,
to
and
ranging.
also I want to say Dorian Finney-Smith, if you look at his career 3-point percentage, it fluctuates a lot year
When
to
he's
year.
playing with Luka, it's the best he's going to shoot. It's a perfect fit between the two of them. And I was
He
just,
played with Luka in 2018, 2019, 2020. He didn't shoot well from
He's
three.
also gotten better as a shooter since then. Players develop in time. I do think you made a good point before. Saying Ayton's a bad defender was strong on my end. I'll take that back. That being said, when he was on the floor, the Blazers' defensive rebounding was not very good. It ranked in the 34th percentile per clean the glass. I feel that what I'm trying to get at with that point is that he's not a difference maker inside the paint as a rim protector or a rebounder.
I would
That's where
argue he's a difference maker if your starting center is Jackson Hayes or Jared Vanderbilt.
it's a big improvement, but it's still not good
No,
enough.
it's a big improvement. And listen, with what the Lakers had,
Lakers didn't get
the
better.
lack of flexibility they had this offseason, there wasn't really much avenues.
See, we agree
DeAndre
there.
was the best possible option. I'm looking at these are the 3 issues that I think the Lakers had this past season. I'm going to start with offensively. I think offensively, their offense wasn't the best. And the reason for that is because they didn't have a center that could finish around the rim, that could catch lobs consistently. Jackson Hayes didn't provide that. And they didn't have a center that can provide any sort of threat from the outside. Deandre Ayton is, even last year in the down season with the Blazers, 81st percentile finishing around the rim, above 70%. He was a 70 percentile mid-range shooter. In terms of players since 2021 that have taken 1,000 shots at the rim, there's only been 87. Deandre Ayton converts 77% of his attempts at the rim. That's shots, that he took 1,000 since 2021. That's a
5-year sample.
He took 2 attempts.
Okay,
last year.
but I'm saying he took DeAndre Ayton 1,000 rim attempts since 2021.
That sounds like a lot.
Let me finish, John. 1,000 rim attempts since 2021. Only 87 players in the league have done that since that time frame. DeAndre Ayton was the third most efficient. No, it's 1,000 rim attempts. It's a volume
over
stat.
a 5-year sample.
2022, he took 6 attempts. 2023, 6 attempts. 2024, 6 attempts. Last year was only 4 attempts and 2.
Why did it go from 6 to 4? It went from 6.
The number's greater than 6.
We're talking about short mid, right?
The number's greater.
Oh, we're talking about rim attempts right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're talking about rim attempts.
Are you looking at frequency?
No, I'm just looking at short rim attempts.
So
at the rim, it was 8 attempts, 6 attempts.
This is what I'm getting at. Since 2021, 58% on hook shots, 51% on short mid-range jumpers, 1,400 attempts in that time frame, 47% on long mid-range jumpers. So DeAndre Ayton is a threat as a pick and pop player because he is not somebody that's going to enforce his will and be overly physical. That's not his game. He doesn't get to the line at all. But he does shoot the short mid-range shot well. He does shoot the long mid-range shot very well. His touch for his size, not a lot of players have that in the league right now. And he's going to be a major pick and pop threat. And he's going to provide spacing for the Lakers offense. Then you look at he's finished at the rim 76%, 1,000 shots. Only 87 players have done so since 2021. He ranks third in efficiency. This is a lob threat. Last season, he had the same dunks made per game number as Anthony Davis. And this past season, 81st percentile. But I'm just saying, dunks made per game, AD and Ayton had the same number last year.
He missed a lot of games last
year. But
year.
It's not about volume. It's about per game. It's a per game stat. Okay. This past season, Ayton, even in a down year, 81st percentile at the rim, 78th percentile short mid-range, 71st percentile long mid-range. So he does elevate their offense. He's a pick and roll threat, a lob threat, a great finisher around the rim. He's also a pick and pop threat. He's a great mid-range shooter, especially for his size. That's a rarity that you're going to find. He spaces the floor. And since 2018, since he's entered the NBA, 12th in rebounding per game, 14th in offensive rebound per game, and 12th in defensive rebound per game. In this past season, his rim defense, player shot minus 5.1% worse on shots within 6 feet when Ayton was the primary defender. Did the Lakers have a rim threat last season? No. Did the Lakers have a mid-range threat at center last season? No. Did the Lakers have a great rebounder last season? No. They all have that now. And I feel like that's an improvement. So I'm looking at where they improved that, and they did improve. I think that defense wasn't the only thing they needed. They needed a center that can catch lobs and play with Luka, and they needed somebody that can rebound the basketball, and he provides both those things.
Yeah. You're drinking the Ayton Kool-Aid. I personally will not be doing that.
You don't have to.
I think
he's good. He's a good player.
DeAndre Ayton is not going to be able to anchor that defense. That defense is going to be pretty atrocious. Offensively, I don't have an issue with them offensively. I think offensively they're going to be fine. They have Luka and LeBron and AR on the team.
Who would have anchored their defense that was a realistic option that they could have gotten?
Probably nobody.
That's
why they were never.
Was maybe Daniel Gafford.
That's why they were never going to be able to fix this issue. That's why no center was going to make this a winning move. Like to go from Hayes to Ayton, yes, upgrade. I'm not going to disagree with you. Hayes is a third string center. It's an immediate upgrade.
You think Ayton is trash?
To go from the 88th best center in basketball to like the 40th. 40th doesn't move me.
Ayton is the 40th.
No, I'm obviously exaggering the numbers. I'm exaggerating the numbers.
No.
Obviously.
How many centers you think are better than him?
Probably.
Over 15.
It's a lot. We can go down the list.
Do you think Ayton is trash?
I wouldn't say he's trash. I
Trash
look
is
at
so
Ayton's
strong.
career.
Like Hayes is trash.
I look at his career and I
The way
see
the way
he's
you're
wasted
the way you're
potential, and I see
explaining
an
him,
average player.
do you think he's a trash starting center?
No, he's not trash.
Let's
no
see,
one's
let's-
gonna say that.
let's
I
see.
look at Ayton, I think he's average, and I think he's a lot of wasted potential when I look at his career.
But if you did not look at him based off the expectation of what he should have been
I still
and
think
just
he's
measure on what he is, he's a solid player. And it's an upgrade over what the Lakers had. I think that's it. I'd rather have a center than have DFS if I'm the Lakers. Absolutely, I would.
I mean, yeah, you're
if
just gonna
that
funnel
center-
everybody to
If
Ayton.
that
God
center's
bless.
a negative on the defensive end,
They was getting past Finney Smith. We acting like Finney Smith was a lockdown defender.
They already
he's
had a-
he's serviceable,
you're right,
but he's
you're
not
right.
clamping
They
nobody.
already had
He's
a-
not Herb Jones.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
they
you're talking
already
about
had
a top three-
they
three
already
guy
had
in
a
basketball.
gaping hole on the perimeter. Then they lost their best perimeter defender, which makes a gaping hole catastrophic.
Okay, but they had no threat at the rim at center, and now they have a legit pick and pop and pick and roll partner. And the more stress you can put on a team, I feel like the better you are.
This
Like
reminds me a lot of when you were hyping up Christian Wood to the Mavericks in 2020.
Yo, no cap. I just counted like 22 centers better than him.
And then
Yo, you
he
think
gets
Mitchell
the
Robinson's better
Mavericks,
than him?
And it ends up not being a difference.
Probably
making
more
thing.
valuable.
That's what this
Yeah.
feels
Christian
like.
Wood-
That's what this feels
Christian
like. He
Wood
averaged 20
has-
and 10 for a
John
small
is
7-game
cooking.
stretch.
Christian
John
Wood-
is cooking.
Christian Wood is not DeAndre.
He gave him a pick and pop threat, a play
John
finisher
is
for Luka. What happened? It
cooking.
never worked in the Mavericks. They didn't have
Christian
they didn't
Wood is
have-
not DeAndre Ayton.
It didn't work in the Mavericks.
Who is
until
DeAndre
they-
Ayton?
DeAndre Ayton.
Ironically, it wasn't until the next year when they drafted Lively and they acquired Gafford that they then went from a 30-plus
That's
win
true.
team or 30-some-odd win team to then go in the NBA Finals.
True.
That wasn't the style of a center
That's
they
a
need
good
to pair
point.
with Luka Doncic.
Christian Wood is 6'9", number one. Ayton is a true 7-footer.
Yeah, he doesn't play like he's 7 foot. He plays like he's 6'9" too.
Ayton's 7 feet?
No.
Are we lying? Wait
He's not
a minute.
like
No,
7 feet
he
tall.
ain't
definitely-
no 7
Yes,
feet.
he
He
is.
is.
6'11",
He
7
is.
feet. It's the same thing.
And he doesn't play
and-
like you.
Okay,
Really?
John. Has
Definitely
Christian
doesn't play
Wood
like it. You
has
would
Chris-
never notice that.
Has Christian Wood, when he signed with the Dallas Mavericks, did he ever have a playoff run where he showcased he was one of the 6 best centers in basketball?
Well,
Six
Christian,
what?
Christian, wait,
At
what?
that time,
Yo, you're a
DeAndre-
liar.
At that
No,
time,
no,
DeAndre Ayton
top
was
10.
different.
He was top
Yes,
10.
top
in that
10.
run.
He just said top 6 center in
But
basketball.
the gap between 6 and 10 was very narrow.
We were talking
Look,
about-
I'm not going to harp on
Bro,
that.
80 was a
Listen,
center at that point.
You make a valid
Has Christian
point.
Wood ever shown that at all?
Has Christian Wood ever played Chris Paul? Top 5 point guard of all time?
I don't give a shit if he played with Chris Paul.
That's
That was
Chris
not going to
Paul.
happen.
Chris Paul is one of the premier point guards.
Christian
at
Wood played with
resurrect-
Luka.
At resurrecting the careers
Bro
of
went from
bigs.
top 6 to
Are
bottom
we serious?
10.
That's
so
CP3.
if Christian Wood replaced DeAndre in that playoff run, they would still make the NBA
I
Finals?
disagree.
So don't compare Ayton and Christian Wood and act like
No.
Christian Wood with Chris
I'm
Paul
comparing-
would have did that.
I'm comparing the hype that
What?
you gave to Christian Wood, where you said some
No,
strong
you're
things. Said
no.
some strong things.
You're-
the Mavericks proceeded to miss the playoffs.
You're using
that
a
season.
false
Hey.
equivalency. That's
That's
what you're
a Luka.
using.
Joel.
That's Luka.
It's a-
Get, no, that is. It's not because
It's a false equivalency.
What does
Just
Ayton do
because
best?
just
What does
because
Ayton do best?
just because I was high
Tell me
on
what Ayton does
just-
best.
Let me finish, John. Just because I was high on Christian Wood going to the Mavericks doesn't take away the analysis on why Ayton improves the Lakers right now. You cannot. You just called him a bad rebounder, and that's blatantly wrong.
DeAndre Ayton was
I
very
corrected
high
myself.
in fouls caused in the league. He was a 70th percentile. So he's a hack. That's what that means.
DeAndre Ayton, his 2 best efficient seasons in the NBA were with Chris Paul
Last year was-
before he had regressed. Because we know Chris Paul in his second year with the Suns, when they won 65 games and lost to the Mavericks, when he turned 35, that's when he rapidly regressed. And the next year, Ayton still finished 61% true shooting percentage, which was efficient, but it dropped off from 65%. When Chris Paul was still, I guess, a very good player, Ayton finished both those seasons 65% true shooting. He's playing with Luka and LeBron James, dude. Like, he's going to get back to 60 plus percent true shooting, 65% true
That's
shooting.
dope, man.
What do you
5
mean
years.
it's dope?
That's
LeBron
dope.
and Luka make their teammates better.
That's no, I'm
like,
saying that's
why
dope.
are we
Like,
acting like DeAndre is trash?
Like,
It's going to be 5 years since that Suns playoff run in 2021. Now, first off, I want to address
And
one
what
thing.
can what
I
can
want to address one
John?
thing.
It's been 5 years since that point.
First off,
It's been 5 years since that point.
it's been a minute.
DeAndre Ayton, since that point, has he declined athletically?
A little bit.
Has
I'd
he
say a little bit.
has any of his skill sets declined?
I'll say his
Well,
motor
his-
got worse.
His motor definitely got worse. Watching him now versus that 2021 run, I'd say he's less athletic now. Less pounds.
I think you can argue that just because he's had some knee tendonitis issues, but since that run to now, we're not talking about a player who went from 29 years old to now he's like 35. He's still very much a young player. He's a very athletic
22,
player as well.
27.
He's a very athletic player as well. With 27, he's still in his athletic prime. You watch and he's still an athletic player.
He's also a man whose motor has gotten progressively worse as he gets older.
Okay, and you don't think that with him having a 2-year deal with the second year being a player option, he is not going to be motivated to get another contract in the league?
They went to the finals and his motor didn't get better.
They went to the finals and he
got
got
a
paid.
motor issue since he was at Arizona.
He went to the finals and he got paid.
Yeah, yes, I understand that.
And that's why I declined.
But he went to the finals.
But
dude.
now
if that doesn't up your motor, I don't know what can.
Well, if his goal was to get paid and that's all it was, then there's a reason why his motor
then we
would
should
decline.
not expect anything at this point.
But now he's up for, he has to play well to get a lucrative deal next offseason.
I mean, he had to play well this year to get a lucrative deal.
Not really. He had $35 million on the book still.
Yeah, but he still knew his contract was coming up.
Yeah, but we didn't get the chance to see him play because he got bought out. And now he's on the
this year. I'm talking about last year. Next year would have been his last deal. His last year on a contract, correct?
This upcoming year.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So he could have been due for an extension this offseason, which means last season he knew that this upcoming offseason he could have got paid more if he played at a high level.
Well, last season he knew that the team drafted a center in the top 10.
For sure.
That they clearly shifted their entire defensive philosophy towards two. And Donovan Clingan was there. And then in the draft, they also drafted another center and they had Rob Will there. So I think that.
Oh, you talking about
I think that Deandre Ayton, this year, him being on an expiring deal because he has a player option and he wants to get paid. Yeah, I think we're going to see a more motivated Deandre Ayton. And even even a Deandre Ayton with the motor issues, on average, he's giving you very good production and much better production than anything the Lakers would have got anywhere else.
Production is production.
Yeah. I do want to
apologize.
apologize.
Yeah, it is.
Production doesn't mean you're being a positive, valuable player.
I agree with
Cam Thomas has production. Colin Sexton has production.
There's only been one season.
Colin Sexton has production.
There's only been one season in Ant's career where the production didn't impact winning.
I'm looking at it. It's two.
Well,
it's been since
last season he had
2025, 2024. He was a negative.
His first season in Portland, he actually had a good point differential. It was positive point differential. It was one of the better ones on the team.
I do want to say one thing. First off,
who's on that Portland team?
Ayton, I want to give you credit. Ayton is a solid rebounder.
I know.
Now, I want to say two different things here that my mind's stuck on. I would agree with you in the sense that Ayton gives you a pick and pop element and a play finishing element. And with Luka Doncic, those are the two things that Christian Wood brought at an above average level in that 2023 season. And ironically, I feel like they have the same exact issues. Though Ayton is a better player, I would agree with you. You made a point that he kind of addresses this rebounding concern. When you look at Ayton's 5 years for the Suns, his rookie year, they're the 30th ranked rebounding team. His second season in 2020, they're the 23rd ranked rebounding team. In that finals run, they're the 21st ranked rebounding team. Then in 2021, they signed JaVale McGee. Now I remember back then, you and I having conversations, the Suns were better with McGee on the floor.
They had better plus,
Ayton.
yeah.
And there was a lot of hyperbole used, but there was a point where there was even suggested that they were a better team with JaVale McGee in his 30s over DeAndre Ayton and the theoretical peak of his career. That was the only season they were outside. They were in the top half of rebounding. And then the following season, they were the 19th ranked rebounding team. So just one time were they a good rebounding team. And that was when they had JaVale McGee and Frank Kaminsky, a good third backup center, a third center in the mix. That's the only time.
Your argument is that he is not going to anchor rebounding rates to the top of the league.
I mean, they also don't have another big.
That's fair. In all those years with the Suns, could we agree that Ayton was the only great rebounder? Chris Paul is 6 foot. He provided some rebounding. Devin Booker has never been known as a prolific rebounder. Cam Johnson's not a prolific rebounder.
You said that about the Lakers now, though.
And LeBron and Luka are prolific rebounders for their position.
Yeah, but they're not down there box out except LeBron, obviously.
And Luka.
Luka kind of, but he's gonna exert a shit ton of energy doing that.
But
shit.
Luka every year of his career averages 8 to 9 rebounds per game. LeBron's averaging 8 rebounds per game.
You're gonna have Ayton out there. You're gonna have there's no backup for Ayton. Legitimately no backup. And then on the wings is who you gonna have on the wings?
Jackson Hayes, I would say in the regular season is a solid backup. He played well last year in the regular season. In playoffs, I don't trust his rotations. I don't trust him to be in rotation at all. But I'm saying those Suns teams, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and then before JaVale McGee got there, they had no backup center that was actually a good rebounder. The backup center was Dario Saric. They didn't have anybody to alleviate rebounding duty off of Ayton. So I don't think that Ayton alone can like
I
anchor
don't
a
think
rebounding
Hayes
unit.
can alleviate that though.
But
either.
but I think that
It
he
was
can
like Sarge
average like
Baines.
5 rebounds per game. Like if I have Luka and LeBron,
he averaged
given-
that as a starter.
if I have Luka and LeBron giving me 8 to 10 rebounds per game, and I have Ayton giving me 10 rebounds per game, that is already almost 30 rebounds per game I'm getting from 3 players.
Well, first of all, they were in total rebounds, they were 26 in the league.
The Lakers.
Yeah, defensive rebound, they were 20. So you bring in 8, and what does that jump up to 24, 22?
I think it improves.
Yeah,
I think
but
it
you're
improves.
still a bottom 10 rebounding team, probably.
So for example, you use
this is with Wemby out for like a year.
so you use the totality of like
I use total rebounds.
the Suns ranking to showcase that Ayton doesn't anchor rebounding rates. Okay, that's fine. Last time I checked, Anthony Davis is a great to an elite rebounder, and the Lakers were still one of the worst rebounding teams in the
could
league.
double
He
check.
played
when
half
he
the
was
year with
playing.
the team though.
But they still finished towards the bottom of the league in ranking.
No. What is it, 2023, 2024, AD was on the team. Yes, he was. They were 18th. But they were 2 in defensive rebound. Their problem is they can't get any offensive rebound. They were 30th in offensive rebound. But in defensive rebound, they were number 2 ranked in the league. Let's go the year before.
And this past season, I don't know what the ranking was
Yeah.
before the Luka
But the
trade.
year before that, 2nd in defensive rebound. So they've been with AD an elite defensive rebound.
So did you use defensive rebounds at all, or
I
it
used
was
total.
just okay? So I don't know what the number is for defensive rebound is alone for Ayton. Maybe can you look at the Suns teams,
Yes.
the 2021 and
That's right,
2022
that's right,
teams
that's
to
right.
see where they rank defensive rebounding wise,
I got you, big bro. What
and then
year?
we're gonna see.
Show me
Do
here.
2021, 2022 first.
Okay.
What do you think about this, JC? Does Ayton improve the Lakers, or do you agree with Riv that they're losers?
Here we go. Here we go. I love pulling up numbers so fast. So
Okay.
you mentioned 2021, 2022. I'll say all 3 numbers. Total rebounds, they were 10th in the league.
Hmm.
Defensive rebounds, they were 5th. Offensive rebounds, 19th. So that was what's holding them back. Let's go to the
And then the year before, because that's when they made the
2020.
finals.
Yes, 2020, 2021. Here we go. All right. This was the problem. So total rebounds this year, 23rd. Defensive rebounds, they were 18th. Offensive rebounds, they were 28th. So the year they won the finals, they was not a good rebounding team.
And the year after, they added JaVale McGee.
Yeah,
That's the year
and they were solid.
That's year they added depth. So it makes sense. Like I think the Lakers are going to improve rebounding with Ayton.
They
Like,
were an
I'm willing
elite
to bet
defensive
that.
rebounding team though the next year. Like
Okay.
defensive rebounding, they were elite.
Like I'm willing to bet that Ayton's going to improve the Lakers rebounding. Yeah, like I don't think that he's going to anchor their defense, but I think that he provides other positives on the team that they had that they needed,
We see that
and it's important.
in the state of this Western Conference with how good it is. We just don't view that as enough for the Lakers to be a top seed.
But
At this
it's now it's debating whether or not they're going to be like a true contender or they're going to be. Or they're losers.
All-season winners. And
I
losers.
think they're.
understand
I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, do you think the Lakers are outside the top 6
In the West.
in the West
oh,
with these moves? Like, would you label them a loser of free agency?
No, I had a different team in mind. I thought the Lakers. I kind of agree with what Joel's saying. I think them getting LaRavia and Deandre Ayton. I mean, it has to be an upgrade. I mean, Jackson Hayes. You can even play him in the playoffs last year. He was horrible. So, no, I mean, I kind of see both lenses of the argument. I definitely agree with them. He's not able to anchor a defense. They don't have much perimeter defenders. Having Ayton as your backline defense is horrible. So. I agree with the low motor too. I've seen plenty of film and footage on him where he just doesn't seem to be as engaged. But I definitely think he's a huge upgrade from Jackson Hayes. Dorian Finney-Smith, I kind of agree with you too. I don't think he's this like all-world defender. Yeah, he shot 41% for the 3, but I can see what John's saying too. Like your only capable POA defender is gone. So now it's like it's gonna be Ayton's gonna really have to showcase some defensive versatility or whatever, and he just has not showcased that his entire career. So I'm kind of in the middle. I think they just are okay.
Now without DFS, you have to rely on Gabe Vincent and Jared
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt to play
Larry.
roles, which just creates even bigger issues in the offense.
Yeah.
With them playing more
But they definitely
senior
upgraded
roles.
at center
With
though. I
Finney
mean,
Smith.
he's way better than
yeah,
Jackson
for sure.
Hayes,
I
though.
just think like you look at the landscape of the West, right? And you look at Houston. Okay, so like the Lakers are in the business of trying to win. Like at least be extremely competitive. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at it in that lens, I'm sorry. Like with the way Houston just made their moves, OKC still hanging around. Denver just had a really good offseason. The Clippers are still hanging around. I'm not saying the Clippers are better, but like, dude, your best move was getting DeAndre Ayton and Jake LaRavia, which I know you love that number because I'm looking at it. It says 43% from the 3-point line, but it also says 2.2 attempts.
You gotta make them.
That means you could have went a week of just
1 week can shoot that
just
to
1 for
30,
2,
or
1
it
for
could
2, 1 for
rise
2,
to
1 for 2. Like
42.
And that's
because
playing with Luka.
because look, the year before
LeBron.
2024, he shot 5 attempts. Guess the number.
31%.
31%. I know his first 2 years of his career, he didn't
34.
shoot well.
Yeah,
He's
it's
like a
34.
career 37%.
Yeah.
But could that not mean that he just improved his 3-point shot?
I mean, the year before it was 2 attempts, 34. So it really is like it's like
We're
I
gonna
don't
see this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're
Like
gonna
this
see
year
how
would
good
be
of a
the
shooter
year,
he
but
is.
like I don't think he wasn't getting open looks in Memphis. I promise you they were leaving him open. I watched a
I would
ton.
argue it's just
Like,
too
I
early to
promise you.
tell how good of a shooter he is. We'll find that out.
But I think he has other skills
Playing a
too.
very big role.
He's a connective player. He can dribble, drive, and attack closeouts.
Yes.
Like he does other positives.
He's a solid player.
I don't think Laravia is just a catch and shoot player.
He's not that. He's actually far from
I
that.
know. He has
But
more
I think
things
the
to his game
Lakers.
that are important.
I think the Lakers are gonna like put him in those positions where he has to be a catch and shoot player. Like how many times are you gonna take the ball out of LeBron, Luka, and AR's hands?
Never.
Most of the time, these are
Never.
gonna be catch and shoot players, and you have to prepare
You're right.
for that.
He has to be good in those situations, but I also think that in this modern NBA, you need multiple players that can dribble,
Yes.
drive, and attack a defense, even if you're a catch and shoot player. So on closeouts, you need to be able to make that first step and get by your defender
Correct.
to create advantages for your teammates. And I think Laravia can do that. So
I agree. I think that's his best trait for sure,
I
especially in
think
transition.
the Lakers got better.
Okay.
They finished third in the West this past year, so I kind of have a hard time putting them outside the top 6.
I mean, that means you got worse.
they were at third seed.
Yeah,
Listen,
it kinda
last
does mean
season
you
You got worse.
and the
Yeah.
minutes that Dorian Finney-Smith played, the Lakers were a plus 17 point differential. And
Mm.
Brooklyn was
Sheesh.
plus 15 and a half.
Makes you
Offensively,
wonder.
plus 9.3. Defensively, plus 7 or negative minus 7.8. Because defensively,
Sheesh. He
it's
was
the better you are, obviously the lower
Okay.
because trying to get stops.
LeBron was a negative this past year for the Lakers when he played on the court. Were the Lakers better when DFS was on and LeBron off?
I can check that.
Or are they better? No, I'm asking you without looking at the numbers. Are they better when DFS is on the court and LeBron is off? Are they better with LeBron off the court?
Talk. Answer him too.
No, but
They're
if
not.
you find the right lineup with Luka, it could be better with a certain lineup and allegation. Maybe
I
if
think
LeBron
I
was
think
off.
sometimes those numbers is not the end all be all.
Of course.
LeBron was a negative for the Lakers all year long. I don't think they were worse when he was on the court. And I don't think DFS. Listen, I think he made a solid impact. I really do.
41% from 3, man.
I don't think that
Points
like
per
plus 17 will
100.
put
That's
him
pretty crazy.
plus
That's
se-
99th percentile.
plus-
That's pretty
plus
extreme.
17 would put him near the top of the league.
DFS is a
99th
high impact player.
percentile.
I don't think his
99th
impact is
percentile.
near the
Role
top
player.
of the league.
Nah, DFS is a high impact player. Though.
Having an above
I think
average
he
defender,
impacts
a
the
very
game.
good shooter off Luka.
He's
is
far
critical.
more impactful at this stage of his career than both the dudes you like that just went to
This
the
just
Lakers.
feels
By
like
far.
It feels like the 2023 Mavericks in terms of the supporting cast not being able to compliment Luka well enough.
They can't compliment him or LeBron. I'll be honest.
What
like,
do you use for that?
what you
Cleaning
putting
the
out?
glass?
Yes.
So do you just use the sample size for the Nets this year and then the Lakers this year?
Nets is plus 15.5.
Oh,
Lakers
shit.
is plus
Okay.
17.
What about the other seasons?
I can check.
Can you check for me, please? Let's see if that was an anomaly, please. I want to know.
No, DFS was
Watch
impactful
him,
for
watch him
Dallas.
play. He's someone that can play in any lineup. He never have to worry.
I
about
know,
it.
I
It's
know.
we can
He's a
slot him
plug-in
in.
player.
It's someone we can count on to close games.
He was a good
That's
three-point
one less
shooter last
player
year, too.
You can count on to close games.
Last time I checked,
41%.
whenever we talk about Luka and him taking the Mavericks to the conference finals in 2022, we all are like marvel at him doing it with the wings that he had in Bullock and DFS. Like so
DFS was the best of those guys.
I know, but DFS, I'm not saying he's not good. He's a good player. But why are we acting like he is like one of the most impactful players and the Lakers losing him is somehow it's a doom sentence?
I think it just.
I don't think so.
Even Lakers fans were upset that they lost DFS.
Yes, because
of
that's
how
the best
impact-
player defender.
It's also like, bro, that was the one lone guy outside of LeBron where you can say we can confidently put him on the floor and he can play both sides. He can be a spot up 3-point shooter, and on top of that, he can play high level defense. You can't do that with Vando because Vando is an amazing defender, amazing rebounder. What the fuck can he do on offense?
That shit
Nothing.
is broke.
Gabe Vincent, too small. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like these Rui defensively has his issues. Offensively, solid. Like there's just this team is just. I don't think they got better. Like I don't think they. I really don't think they got better. I genuinely think Deandre Ayton was an upgrade. I'm not gonna disagree with you. Me and you vocally talked about Hayes last year. The brother was not a starting center. He's probably
I know,
he
yeah.
was worse than backups, like legitimately. But that's what they had to do. So Ayton is an upgrade. But Ayton, Laravia, I feel like this team is still have holes on the defensive side. I feel like in the West, you're gonna need to play defense, and I don't think they're gonna be able to do that.
So what are his numbers impact
Oh,
wise?
he's been a positive every year, but 2020.
No, I know. I'm
Yeah.
sure that he's a
Paul,
positive.
what's the number?
It's just a number.
2024 plus 0.3, so
We're
split
not
hairs.
counting that.
Barely.
Yeah, we're not counting
And the
that.
season
Barely.
before, that 2023 net team, right as their Kevin Durant's getting moved, that was like a negative 0.3. Splitting
so-
hairs, 50th
So
percentile.
cancel both of those out.
Basically dead even those years. The years before is plus 1.4, plus 2.5, plus 6.
So it's
Plus
in the-
6 is moving
And
me.
then plus 5
Plus
in
6 is
2020.
nice.
So for every year of his career, he's been always 50th percentile
Yes,
or higher.
I think Dorian Finney-Smith is a good player. The plus 15, plus 17 thing, I think it's a bit of an anomaly.
He had his best shooting season, so that's going to play
He
into
did.
it.
I
And
mean,
he's
he did.
just a very valuable role player the Lakers lost.
I know he is, but I think
Someone that you can count on. You don't know what you're
adding
getting
adding
for
a
him.
starting
Yeah.
center is just so huge. I think you guys are overlooking it.
No, adding a starting caliber center that can anchor a defense is
It's
really
huge.
huge. It's
Yeah.
extremely huge. That's why Dallas went and got 2.
Yep. And that's how they went from.
That's why
missing the
that's
playoffs
why
to finals.
Houston went to go get 1, and then they have the 2 that can rebound.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Clippers went to go get a backup that can do that. You love DeAndre Ayton because you love offense. Oh, Luka's gonna make him look great. Cool. But at the same time, what is he gonna do on that other end? Because that other end, I'd argue,
He's a solid defender.
I'd argue. See, being a solid one-on-one defender is cool, but for a big man, what is more important is anchoring the defense, and that is the most important thing for a center. And if you cannot do that in this league, it's going to be extremely hard.
Even Rudy Gobert can't anchor a defense in a playoffs if there's no personnel there.
What are you saying?
Even Rudy Gobert.
I'm not even
One
talking.
of the-
We didn't even get to the playoffs.
Yeah, if he
But
can,
I'm-
what the hell makes
But
the games do that shit?
I'm just what I'm saying. Even one of the greatest
playoffs.
defensive centers of all time can't anchor a defense when there's clear vulnerabilities
Joel,
on the team.
Rudy Gobert anchored the defense for 80 games. I'm
I'm-
talking about right now the 80 games.
I'm not talking about the 16 games
I'm not
anymore.
Because the 16
expecting.
games, I already know he's not going to do
Here's
it.
the thing. I'm not expecting DeAndre Ayton to anchor a defense.
And that's
I'm
the
not.
problem.
But he is a solid defender. Like he can play defense.
Okay.
And it's better
So-
than any option that we're gonna have.
Like, yeah, he can play defense.
I think that
Cool.
right now, Nick Claxton and him as defenders is not that far off. Claxton was really bad
And
last
nobody
year.
wants Claxton.
Well, that was the other option for them.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong.
So that's what I think it's an upgrade. Like now the Lakers have to make moves to fill out the personnel. Like now Austin Reeves becomes a trade chip. Hey, Pelicans, do you want Reeves? Maybe we can get Herb Jones. You know, maybe you guys talk a little bit. Maybe the Pelicans, let's fill up the salary and let me give you 2 first-round picks to go get Herb Jones. Because if the Lakers could get a lockdown defender like that, I think it changes this conversation. I don't think that Ayton is the end-all be-all. I think they need to complete their roster.
Yeah.
But I think
Brother, it
finding
wasn't-
a center was very important to their offseason.
Brother, they wasn't doing shit up until Ayton got bought out, bro.
If they get a
They
top
weren't.
3 perimeter defender in the sport, they might be all right defensively.
I agree with you.
What do you guys think about the? I mean, I don't know. I've been hearing that they trying to trade for Andrew Wiggins. I don't know how
I
realistic
think that would
is.
be really good for them.
So
Did
with that,
we? Okay.
that's what I've been reading.
Here's the thing, John. Here's the thing.
He's
Here's-
playing with Draymond.
No. Fuck that.
And bam.
Fuck that. Because he wasn't even a good defender last year. That's the funniest part to me. We love Andrew Wiggins. Clearly, we didn't watch Andrew Wiggins last year. He wasn't the best defender he was prior to that. So, like, you're getting Andrew
What
Wiggins.
version of Wiggins are you
What
getting?
and that's the same thing. What
like that
version
his whole
of
career.
Andrew Wiggins are you getting? Because the version that I remember, you're not getting 2022.
Well, it's another low. It's like an A.
He's at
scenario.
$28 million. That ain't a
So you're
A.
suggesting you're buying to a player's defensive peak was 4 or 5 years ago. That's what
Interesting.
you're suggesting.
No, what I'm saying
But
is,
this one time at 28 mil.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that Wiggins is Golden State has made the perception on him much better. But Wiggins is a low motor player for his career.
Facts.
Nah, he
You
is,
want to keep
definitely.
bringing these low motor guys.
So
into,
that's why
to-
I-
wait, JC, into the Los Angeles Lakers media. Think about that. Now, we didn't even factor in that point of this media would tear you apart. And you're bringing in low motor. He was a low motor guy in Portland. They were shitting on him because he wouldn't leave his house because it snowed. And you telling me now he's with the Lakers and
He don't got to worry about snow.
you're right, you don't. You just got to worry
It's
about the
sunny all
Lakers
the
media.
time. Why would he? He's gonna be in a
Hey.
better mood.
Sure. Yeah.
Put the sunshine all day, going to the beach. He's gonna be in a much better mood. Now, what I'm saying is that do you think that Andrew Wiggins right now is still at this point is better than Dorian Finney-Smith as a player?
As a player?
Both ends,
Yeah.
two-way,
As a
both
player, I
ends.
think
As
he's
a
better.
better defender, no. As a player, yes. He adds
Do you
more
think the
offense.
defensive
All
gap
you
is
care about is
crazy?
offense. I know he adds more offense.
No,
He does help you rebound. Yes, I agree.
Do you think that the gap between them defensively is far off?
Did you watch Andrew
No,
Wiggins last year?
I'm asking you.
I'm genuinely
I'm
curious
asking
if you did. He's right at this point in time right now. Andrew Wiggins is a inconsistent defender. He's back to what he was. The motor is not the same. Also, he deals with a lot of nagging injuries too, which has it's kind of brought back his athleticism. You know, Andrew Wiggins used to be an athletic demon.
Yeah.
His athleticism has declined. He's very, very, very in that mode where he settles a lot. So.
If you had one playoff series that decided the fate of the universe, would you have Andrew Wiggins play defense or Dorian Finney-Smith right now?
That's a wild question. Me personally, probably Andrew Wiggins.
Okay.
But you mean to tell me for 80 games you can rely on him to keep the motor up?
I don't know.
Answer the question. How many games did you watch Andrew Wiggins last year?
I watched a lot of Warriors games.
And you
Don't do this.
you damn sure don't watch the Heat because I didn't either. So
I mean, the Heat are boring.
I'm with you.
Especially post Jimmy.
Let's not incriminate ourselves.
Especially post Jimmy. I mean, I think Wiggins is all right. I think Wiggins is all right.
And what you sending out for him? 'Cause that's 28.
It would have to be Rui and like Vando, and that would make the salary work, and then maybe a pick. But
Upgrade.
if I'm the Lakers, I wouldn't even do that. Like I think Rui's a good player too.
Also, yeah, I think at this point you're just getting basically what Andrew Wiggins is in both of those.
Listen,
players.
for me, like I said, I'm not like I know that was a report that you wanted to mention into the conversation, and I understand that. For me, like I'm looking at the top end guys. I'm looking at the Herb Joneses of the world and seeing if the
Trying to get
Pelicans
greedy. That
are
means
willing to move
that'd
off.
be
From,
crazy
I mean,
if
the
they
Lakers
were
they
Herb.
got Luka. That's how they get greedy. So I mean, I just feel like they got better, but we disagree. Now, would you rather Deandre Ayton addition?
Okay.
First name up, Jared Allen,
Jared
Let's
Allen.
walk through that.
Jared Allen.
Keep it pushing.
Clint Capella,
DeAndre.
Yeah.
Jakob Poeltl.
Jakob
Jakob
Poeltl.
Poeltl.
Okay, Nick Claxton,
DeAndre.
DeAndre Ayton.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Wendell Carter Jr.,
DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton.
Goga Bataze.
This is probably where he's at, right? Like right
I'll take
here.
DeAndre Ayton, bro. Take DeAndre Ayton.
I'd probably take Ayton, but
I
it's close.
respect Ayton.
Yeah, Goga's a good player.
Shout out to Goga, one of the better backups in the game.
Steven Adams.
In terms of difference makers, man. Steven Adams,
I-
spearhead the best rebounding team.
I
in the
feel like I
game.
can rely on Ayton more in the regular
I
season.
mean, Adams plays like what, 18 minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll take
I'll go
Ayton.
Ayton. I'll go Ayton.
different
Ayton.
role, so go with Ayton.
Jalen Duren.
Jalen Duren.
Jalen Duren.
Mark Williams.
I feel like they're the same player.
Very similar.
I'll take
I
Ayton.
would slightly lean
Available.
Mark Williams.
I
I'm
guess.
going
I'm
Ayton.
gonna slightly lean Mark.
I'm not a big Mark Williams fan.
Daniel Gafford.
Daniel Gafford.
Daniel Gafford.
I'll go Gafford. I thought
You,
about
feel,
it. though.
you guys said it pretty fast. So
Yeah,
you're-
I thought
you're
about
comfortable
it. I
with
thought
that
about it.
answer.
Gafford is a difference-making center.
Okay.
A little small. That's what bothers me.
Mitchell Robinson.
I can't rely on him. DeAndre Ayton.
It's the health.
Yeah,
It's-
I
if
cannot
he
rely
was
on him.
healthy, if you're getting 65 to 70 games of Mitch, I'd agree. He barely played the last 2 years, so for that, I'll go with Ayton.
And last name Onyeka Okongwu.
Give me
I
double
like
love.
I like
But I'll think about it. It's a thought.
Same as Mark Williams, I'm going to slightly lean Yeka Konwu. And we didn't mention one big all-season loser. I don't look at the Lakers as an all-season loser the way I do this team. It's the Indiana Pacers losing Miles Turner when they were $40 million under the second
That shit
agent.
was
This
crazy.
wasn't the Celtics moving on from starters because they had to get under. No, that was the Pacers completely lowballing Turner, not thinking there would be another suitor, and then the Bucks swooping out of nowhere and take him out of thin
We didn't
air.
think they'd release Dame.
No one saw that coming.
That shit came out of
the
left
Bucks,
field.
The Bucks will get to them in a brief moment. With the Dame, $22 million a year because you stretched him, plus Turner's 27. That's $49 million a year you're paying for Miles Turner being number 2.
I just want to let you guys know, Drew and Dels were on for this episode, but in episode 200, when we did the collab episode with numbers on the board,
Yes.
we had a topic on the topic list that said, what's a young player that you've given up on? My answer was DeAndre Ayton because I didn't think he was going to live up to his potential. And in that topic, you guys can go back and watch it in the segment. In that topic, I asked everybody, do you think Ayton will finish with an all-star appearance in his career? And Riv, you said yes. You do believe that it can happen.
Like he get one.
He can get one.
Yeah, I
Is
thought
this the year he could get one?
Nah, it's over. Like I would completely.
The year after the finals appearance, that was his best
Yeah,
chance.
no, it's, shit is
18,
over,
11.
brother. Also, like the big talent and the way the All Star game is now, I just don't think he'll get in.
In the West, there's a lot of talent.
It's a shit ton of
It
talent. Also, he's
depends.
not that good. So, like, you gotta put that into consideration.
Now we're going to get into our top 10 teams after NBA free agency. We're going to go 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. But first off, we're going to go honorable mention. And my first honorable mention barely got left off, but mine is going to be the Orlando Magic.
Okay.
They're not in one of my top 10 teams after free agency, taking into account the East and West. They're not in my top 10.
If I'm being quite honest with you guys, my top 7 is locked. 8, 9, 10, 11 is 8, 9, 10 is where I got real. I don't know. It was very.
What's the team that you left off?
That's the thing. I didn't pick an order yet.
Oh, okay, I see.
But my top 7 is locked. Like, I feel like the top 7 for me, I feel like it's comfortable. I feel like we'll all have the same teams in the top 7. I feel like 8, 9, 10 is where you get real dicey because you can project with a few. You can make your case with some of them. For me, I'll just tell you the teams I had in that range. It's Hawks, Magic, Warriors, Clippers, Lakers. I feel like those are teams that can compete for. And I feel like I'm missing somebody in the East, but I don't think I am. But I feel like those are teams that are vying for that 8, 9, 10 spot. Mm-hmm. But I'll just tell you my top 7 real quick because I feel like that's for me is a lot. OKC's 1, Rockets 2, Denver 3, Cavs 4, Knicks 5, 6. I put Dallas 7. I put Minnesota. So everybody after that, I feel like it's crunching. I feel like Hawks can be in that top 10 if you want to project. I probably would have I probably would have the Hawks in the top 10. Orlando, sneaky team again. It's really a tricky bottom 3 list for me because I feel like all these teams have a legit case, but all these teams have their flaws.
In the Spurs. Yeah. I have. If we want to do the top 10, I
can do it the same way as you. I want to stay in that lane.
Yeah,
like that.
Like just doing 10, 10, 10.
10,
okay.
10, 10.
Riv revealed most of his list, but my 10 is the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
It was hard for me to project just how much they're gonna improve in the win column. When Jalen Johnson played with Trae Young last season, they were 17-17. This was a 500 team. They added Porzingis, they added Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'm excited about those additions, but I don't want to drink the Hawks Kool-Aid too much and just feel like, oh yeah, this is like a contender. Yeah. I still have to see a lot of the things, the fit things, the health issues, if they're going to persist. But I think the Hawks at 10 is a good spot.
I agree with that. The Hawks, so I had an honorable mention, one in each conference, and those 2 teams were the Spurs and the Hawks. San Antonio was an honorable mention because I love what they did this offseason, but they have a lot to figure out in the backcourt and how they're going to maximize Wemby coming off missing in the last season. I agree with you in the Hawks sense where health is going to be a question, but also what version of Trae Young you're getting is going to be what decides that team ceiling. If Trae Young gets back to his 2021 form, they're going to be a top 10 team this season. If he doesn't, they won't be to me. That's why I have the Hawks as my first team off the list, but it really does depend on just how healthy he is. I think that's been something that's overlooked. Last year, he played with Achilles tendonitis. How about you?
I like the Spurs at number 10. I really feel like Wemby is going to just keep getting better. It's going to be a little tough for them to figure out the backcourt. Yeah. Obviously, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I don't know if Harper's coming off the bench. I don't know if he's starting. I don't know how I feel about Fox and Harper starting in the backcourt. But I think they have it's a problem, but it's a good problem. It's a bunch of good players surrounded by Victor Wembanyama, who I think is honestly knocking at the door for me to possibly close to being a top 5 player. So I'm banking on the Wemby leap, and I think I have him number 10 in the NBA right now.
That's a good one. That's one that I thought about a lot because I think like the Spurs, even if the Hawks might have a more complete team, do I think the Spurs are better than the Hawks? I think that's a legit debate. I think the Wemby just is that much of a difference maker.
Who's your honorable
to where
mention?
I can get it. Mine is the Orlando Magic.
I forgot my 10. My 10 was the Warriors.
I think I've honorable mention Orlando. 10, I do have Golden State. I think we're better than Orlando.
Number 9, that's where I have the Warriors. I think that they've kind of gotten under the radar because they didn't do anything in the draft or free agency. But when Jimmy Butler came to the team post All-Star break, 30 net rating, they had a 22-5 record with Steph and Jimmy. I think that the age concerns are very real. They're all old, but Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, adding Horford to the unit, and Jonathan Kuminga potentially getting traded for a piece that can help them win now. I think that can propel them into being top 10 team. Like I thought this was a team that was legitimately in the contention talks before Jimmy got hurt and Steph got hurt. So I'm not going to give up on them this upcoming season.
My 9 is sneaky. I don't think none of you guys have this team up here. My 9 is the Clippers.
I think the Clippers.
Yeah, I think the Clippers are a top 10 team in basketball. And you may not Like, I feel like top 10 is different than who you think will win the title. I feel like that conversation comes in June, April, and stuff like that. But like the Clippers brought everybody back, and I think that's extremely important. And we watched the Zubac leap take form last year. Harden and Kawhi haven't shown any real signs of declining as players. The injury concern, I think, is the same for the Warriors as it is for them. They have two old guys that kind of head the ship. Also, Norman Powell's getting up there in age and stuff like that. Bogdanovich is up there in age. But I think this team, back end of last year with this extremely tough schedule, put belt to ass.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of teams like Orlando, I think they are better than them just because of the infrastructure is a little bit. I honestly think Orlando and the Clippers kind of are similar in the ways they are. I just trust the foundation the Clippers have.
Sure. They're an absolute unit to end last season. I don't think it's crazy at all. I have them higher than that. My number 9 was the Dallas Mavericks, and I would have them a slight bit higher and have them above my team at number 8. The reason why I don't is because Kyrie is going to miss the start of the season, expected to come back in January, and it's going to be his first season coming off an ACL injury. And kind of hinging on that, there's some questions with how they orchestrate their lineups for Jason Kidd, with Cooper Flagg starting, moving PJ Washington to the bench. How does he work Najee Marshall? And then, of course, Anthony Davis. How many games is he playing? But I like Dallas at 9.
I like the Lakers at 9. I don't think they're going to be a top 3 seed in the West this year, but I think just you having Luka Doncic, LeBron James, their playmaking, their offensive ability, I think they'll be fine. I'd like the Ayton sign. Like I said, it's an upgrade over Jackson Hayes, but defensively, I feel like the Lakers this year are just going to have to hang their head on being a potent offense. I think led by Luka, LeBron the best playmaker, got AR as your third option. I think offensively it'll be enough just to for my ranking just to have them at the 9th spot. But like I said, I do think they regress in the Western Conference just because some teams gotten better.
My number 8 is going to be the LA Clippers. 50 wins over the past 2 seasons, I don't think is anything to sniff at. 4th in net rating post All-Star, and with Kawhi Leonard, they were 26-11. Kawhi Leonard's health is the biggest wild card here. He made it through the playoffs. He's going to be healthy to start the season. I'm hoping for good health for Kawhi. And those minutes replacing Amir Coffey, I don't think are being talked about enough in how good the Clippers can be, because Amir Coffey was a huge negative for them last season. And then I look at the Brook Lopez addition. Brook Lopez, very quietly, nobody talked about it, but he was number 1 in contested shots this past season. Totality contested shots. He contested over 1,000 shots. No other player contested more shots than him last season. No other player contested over 1,000
like
shots.
Players like attacking him.
And him having contests. Yeah, he was still a very good defender. He was one of the 10 best defensive player of the year candidates last season. And Ivica Zubac was number 2 in contested shots. So the Clippers now have a center in Zubac who anchored the second best defense in the league this past season. And they have a backup in Brook Lopez who not only can space the floor, but was the only center ahead of Zubac in terms of contested shots in the league. So I think having those two is going to be very good. I think the only concern with them is that they're old. They're an older team with Harden, Kawhi, Batum, Lopez. Zubac is like the youngest core piece, and Norman Powell is like the another young guy that they have that is not young, but comparatively to everybody else, is younger on the team.
He's right behind Harden. I think he's 32.
Yeah. Wow, I thought he was like 28, 29.
And I think he played 4 years in college.
They have a very old team. So I think that's the only concern, is that if the injury bug hits them, what's going to happen with the team. But overall, the talent and what they added, I think, they're easily a top 10 team.
I think their youngest player is probably Derrick Jones Jr.
Yeah, that plays for sure.
Yeah. We're on 8, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Atlanta Hawks. Don't got to say too much about them. Projecting a little bit more with them than most teams on my list, just because of, you have to, with the health of Porzingis. How does Trae Young look? Dyson Daniels, marginal jump. Jalen Johnson, you mentioned, how is he going to look? But I like this team. I really do like this team. I like the move they made. I like the lineups that they can, potentially put out there. So for me, Hawks are at 8.
I'm surprised. The team I'm projecting with the most, that I feel should be projected more, is the Orlando Magic. This team won 41 games last year, and Paulo Banchero missed half the season, their best player. And when he got back right in the playoffs, he looked like an All-NBA player in the making. And then Franz Wagner also missed 20 games last season. You now add in Jalen Suggs, he played 3 games in the calendar year of 2025. They re-signed Mo Wagner yesterday, who was one of their better shooters towards ACL. I love what Orlando did this offseason. Bench got a lot better. They addressed their shooting fairly well, and I love the addition of Desmond Bane kind of playing off of those 2 stars. So I've got the Magic right there.
Just curious, John, what do the you used the advanced numbers for Dorian Finney-Smith earlier. What do the advanced numbers say about Paolo?
You used that in LeBron's favor as well. Would you suggest that the Magic are a better team with Paolo Banchero off the floor?
Yes, I do. I think they're better when Paolo plays.
Hey, they were 20-20 when they both played.
Franz and Paolo.
Yeah.
Call yourself there. I thought you were gonna agree.
He
makes them
the,
worse.
The additions should definitely make them better, so much better. I like that pull. I think Orlando for me is just really. I think the shooting does help. I think it helps a ton. It's really just about the figuring out the offense thing because I don't think they have a concrete offensive system. So bringing in these players should help in putting these guys in position to do that. I know you like the Banchero negative numbers.
Can I say one thing about that? Point differential to me should reinforce what you see. Amir Coffey, he has not 12 points. I know the point differential may suggest he's a bad player. I think Amir Coffey is a solid player. In the case of Dorian Finney-Smith, I think that reinforces what you see. Yeah. The fact that his point differential is a plus 16 per 100. With Paolo, when I watch him play, and I see him playing through triple teams with 0 shooters on the floor, and there's no spacing whatsoever, and there's not a single person that creates that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope off the dribble when Franz is at the game, I don't say to myself, yeah, now the Magic are better.
So according to those numbers, Dorian Finney-Smith is more impactful than Paolo.
And Franz.
I did listen to what you said.
It reinforces what you see. Like Amir Coffey's point differential, I'm like, I'm not buying that. I think he's solid. Dorian Finney-Smith, I watch him play, I say,
I don't know.
Plus 16 is the high-end outcome, but that reinforces the fact that he fits in any lineup, and they're going to get a very high floor.
Does he fit on more lineups than Paolo?
Next team. What do you got?
I got the Clippers for the same reason as him, to be honest with you. He pretty much said everything I was
No, they're
say.
really good. Like, I think the Clippers, they're knocking on the door. They need
what?
They're really good, man.
Knocking on the door what?
They can if they make a move or two that is something that is
we gotta get a Harden, man.
Is that something that put them over the top?
Put over the top of what?
Maybe competing for something.
You're jumping around like just what are you saying? Like
I mean, James Harden wants to win the championship, so does Kawhi.
Okay, so like they're knocking on the door one move to win the championship.
Yeah,
because you're not be. Like say it.
Norman Powell for Herb Jones. Get Herb Jones.
Why does everybody think Herb is available?
I don't know.
That would be fire.
Troy Weaver's their GM, and he's maybe the worst GM in this board.
So you're not lying, John.
The next team I have at number 7 is the LA Lakers. I think that they got better this offseason, contrary to the panel's belief.
The panel got it.
I think that they got better this offseason, and I think that Luka's going to be more motivated than ever.
You said that last year at the deadline when he got traded. You said he's going to be more motivated and they're going to go far in the playoffs. You said that. I remember it vividly. You said that.
I also said it the year before when they made the NBA
No, don't bring that up. That wasn't the year before. Don't bring it up. You said it at the deadline that they're going to be more motivated
I
than
also
ever.
said
stop.
I also said at the deadline. I also said at the deadline that Luka Doncic is clearly playing hobbled right now, and he's not himself.
I don't remember
in terms of pressuring the rim. I said it multiple times. I said Luka Doncic is not pressuring the rim at the same rate that he used to pressure.
Would you say he's declined athletically?
He has declined because of injuries that he's had, that he's played through. He played through injuries in the finals. In the offseason, he played for his national team, playing through injury, and he hasn't had a full offseason to really recover those. I think this is the first offseason where he's had time to recover those injuries. And the same way I felt about the Mavericks when they missed the playoffs and he was getting clowned for missing the playoffs, and then they make the NBA Finals, and I said that PJ Washington was going to be a needle mover along with Daniel Gafford. I believe that Luka, we're going to get the very best version of him this upcoming year with the Lakers, and he's going to lead the Lakers to, without a doubt, a top 5 seed in the West.
Okay, you love to say without a doubt. Without a doubt.
It's a very deep West.
It's without a doubt.
It is a very deep West, and it's also Luka Doncic and LeBron James and DeAndre Ayton, baby, and Austin Reeves, by the way.
Who you're just pigeoning to be traded
because they need more defense.
Because of their desperate
That's
needs.
Why. But have you guys ever taken into account how much better Luka's going to be defensively this upcoming season?
What makes you think that?
Because of how much better in shape he's going to be. I think he's going to be locked in.
I really don't think shape is the main reason why he's not good defensively.
I think effort is.
Because if you're that in shape, you're that out of shape, right? And you still average 32 points a game. At some point, when are we going to just say, hey, maybe it's not the shape?
I would argue because he's worse supporting the defensive end, it's going to be probably a worse defensive performance because their best point of attack defender in the starting lineup is who?
Him.
It's Reeves or LeBron at 41 years old.
And Reeves is chicken.
So now we're kind of we have to have Gabe Vincent as a spot starter as like the main. He's 6'2".
Vando's gonna
He's
have to
not in
play.
Miami no more.
John, Vando's playing 25 minutes
So
a
they're
game.
gonna play Vando with Deandre Ayton.
There we go. There we go,
I
John.
think Vando is a good rebounder too. That's another person that can get him to like league average if he's able to play.
John
You ever
loves
seen that,
numbers.
You ever seen that meme? Shannon Sharp picking out what he
And I
has?
do
You're
too.
saying, you love numbers, right? And that was your
I love
piece.
I love
16 and
numbers. I
10.
do. So I'm gonna
Mr. 16 and
I'm
10.
gonna search up some numbers here to reinforce a belief that I might have.
While you're at it, I'm gonna give my number 7 team. It's the other LA squad. I have the Clippers. They had, to me, they found the perfect formula at the end of last season, and they've maintained the entirety of that course. That's why I feel they've become a little bit underrated as well.
So, John, Luka Doncic this past year with the Lakers, with the lineup of Reeves, Rui, LeBron, and Jackson Hayes, 219 possessions, they had a 110 defensive rating on the court,
How many
which is
possessions?
216 possessions.
Not a big sample size.
They had a 110 defensive
Who
rating.
we talking about?
Luka, Reeves, LeBron, Rui, and Jackson Hayes on the court. They had a
During the regular season?
they had a 110.
200 possession
John,
sample.
John,
Guess what? They had a 110 defensive rating with Dorian Finney-Smith that has 110.7 defensive rating.
Joel, remember last
He was
year
on
when
the
we
court.
kept calling that lineup fake because of Jackson Hayes?
It's just the scheme they played. Players missed shots.
Interesting.
That's what it was.
Your 17 was who?
A 7 is the Clippers.
My 7 is the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's my 7.
Timberwolves, yep.
You got the Timberwolves?
Yep.
Okay. Next up, number 6, I got the New York Knicks. They barely missed out on my top 5. I think the addition of Mike Brown is going to be huge for our offense philosophy. Jordan Clarkson, I love that signing. Yabusele, I love that signing. I think we have depth. I mean, now we have the starting 5 who I think Josh Hart should come off the bench, but either or. Like if we have a bench of, like, let's say Mitchell Robinson or Deuce McBride start. I think maybe Deuce McBride starts for better spacing. We have Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Jordan Clarkson, and Yabusele off the bench.
That's
with
cool.
maybe Hukporti, Dadiet, Kolek, one of these young guys taking a step up.
Yeah.
You know, I really like that a lot. So I think the Knicks got better this offseason. And Tom Thibodeau, I appreciate everything he's done for the team, but he held the team back on offense. It was a lot of isolation basketball, just watching Brunson go one-on-one. It was frustrating. It led to sluggish basketball. I think Mike Brown is going to open up our offense and involve all of our players. And I'm very excited for the prospect of Mikal Bridges getting going offensively because we're waiting on Brooklyn Bridges.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
And we could get close to that this year.
Yeah, it kind of reminded you of like them D Rose teams where it was just D Rose and everybody just get
Everyone
out the
else.
way. But
Right.
except they had like so much virtually no spacing. My 6th team is the Dallas Mavericks. I didn't factor in.
Very high on
Wow.
them.
Yeah, I didn't factor in Kyrie's health. I honestly, legitimately
should.
just forgot. I just think on paper they're one of the 6 best teams in basketball. I think Kyrie's there. You got D'Lo coming off the bench. I do think Kyrie's game is very much not too reliant on his athleticism. He's a really smart IQ offensive player that can get to his spots at will. The ball handling, you don't just lose that because you tore your ACL. So I think he'll be fine. Their front court is going to be one of the best front courts in basketball. I think Cooper Flag is going to be one of the better rookies. Honestly, he's going to be the best rookie this year. He's going to be really impactful. You got the Twin Towers, their own version of Derek Lively,
The team is
AD,
deep.
Daniel Gafford. I like PJ Washington off the bench. Klay Thompson's cool. Najee Marshall had a nice little play. Me and John talk about Brandon Williams coming off the bench too. That'd be dope.
And D'Lo starting in the meantime for Kyrie. I mean, you're very high on that move, correct?
I liked it.
You're high on it. You like it?
Thought it was the best option, much like you with Ayton and the Lakers.
Talk!
Brandon Williams is a good, very good young guard. They have Jane Hardy too, is kind
Young.
of just buried in that depth chart. But what I like a lot, the theory of just 2 of those 3 bigs staying healthy. You
Yep.
have 80 playing with a full
80 doesn't have to play 5.
above average defensive center full time. That could be very
Yeah, I
impressive.
like Dallas a lot.
Because during the BR stream, we gave our grades for these
Give it a B+.
signings, and he gave it a B+.
'Cause it was great value,
D'Lo,
2 years, 13.
B+, nice, great
Contract
value.
was one of the main
Great value.
reasons. That was one of the
He's
biggest
another guy.
parameters.
Motor effort, correct? Efficiency issues, correct? Doesn't really perform. Has he ever had a high as good as
See,
Ayton's
the
2021
difference
playoff run?
between him and Ayton is that
No.
he's being well supported and Ayton isn't, and what they lack.
Why is he being well supported? but Ayton isn't?
Defensively, D'Angelo Russell, you would argue that's his biggest limitation as a player.
So is Ayton being
He's being
supported
surrounded with the
offensively?
best rim protection in the NBA and good perimeter defenders.
Is Ayton being supported offensively?
Just not what the Lakers need. That's not.
They don't
the whole
need a
point.
center that can play offense.
That's not the big crux of.
Wasn't
what they're
D'Lo
trying to solve.
supported with rim protection when he played for the Lakers?
If
when
they would have
AD
got
was there?
if the Lakers would have got Daniel Gafford, you'd have thought this was a way better move.
Wait, let me ask you
Hey,
something.
he's not gonna answer that question.
Let me ask you something. I would have liked it.
You would have liked it way better than Ayton.
I think Ayton just provides a higher offensive floor too, though.
But he Gafford exactly what Luka wants, and then defensively.
And
is fine.
I also think that anybody that's watched the Mavericks knows that Daniel Gafford can't play 30 minutes or more per game.
I don't think
He's
Ayton's
a-
going to be able to play 30 plus.
Daniel
this year,
Gafford,
too.
his defense, he jumps a lot for shots. He's a great rim protector. He is one of the better ones in basketball, but he can only play one type of defensive coverage.
That is
And
fair. What can Ayton
he's more mobile than Daniel Gafford for sure.
do? Okay.
Yeah.
How many
So-
minutes you think he's going to play this year?
Like with Daniel Gafford is more of like a deep drop. So I think
He's
He's
elite at
good.
that.
he is a lead
He's
at that.
elite at
I think Gafford is one of the better ones, but everybody that watches the Mavericks knows that like he's a center that he's like more so like a backup.
He's
You're
an
gonna
elite
play him
backup,
20
but
to
he's a starter
24
for half
minutes
the
per
league.
game. But I was just saying that because I mean D'Lo, this is not the first time he's played with Anthony Davis, correct?
No.
He's played, and this is not the first time he's played with elite rim protection and been supported because he played with Rudy Gobert too, right? So he played with Gobert and he
Yes,
played
Those
with
defenses
AD.
were elite.
Okay, so
They were elite defense.
I just find it interesting how he's well supported, but Aiden is not well supported. I
Ayton
just
is the
find that
support, bro. Ayton is the support. Stop comparing a guard
D'Lo
to a
is
center.
the support. as
D'Lo
well.
is a guard. It's
He's
easy.
the guard
relief.
support.
It's the
Easier
backup
for a
guard
guard to
role
not play
in
defense in
Kyrie
the
Do you
center.
Irving.
think that you can be high on the D'Lo move, but not be high on
Oh,
the
no,
Aiden
that's a-
move?
I'm
That's
not high
tough
on the
for another
D'Lo.
day.
I mean, D'Lo's there just until Kyrie comes
Yeah,
back.
he's a relief in the short term.
That's all he
and
is.
then a backup.
You're
in the
asking
long term.
Aiden to be the full-time starter and go through a
What
playoff
move is
series with
better?
him.
What move is better? D'Lo to the Mavericks or Aiden to the Lakers?
Probably into the Lakers.
Okay.
Yeah, into the
And I
Lakers
would
because
grade that
they
move a B+
upgraded.
the
They,
same
I know
they
it hurts you
upgraded at
saying
that
that.
position.
I don't care.
I know
I'm
it
not-
hurts
'cause they
you
don't
saying that.
upgrade
care
with
enough to be
D'Lo.
affected
They just-
emotionally
Nah, you're
by
just
that.
a band-aid till Kyrie comes back.
D'Lo just a depth piece.
B plus.
My
Okay.
number 16 would be the Minnesota Timberwolves. I look at the Mavericks, the Clippers. These teams kind of get overlooked too because we really focus on the top three. But Minnesota is one of those squads with a ton of young talent in the bullpen. And then, of course, Anthony Edwards is progressively getting better.
We
by
would have
the
beat
year.
them. That's all I'm saying.
I got the Knicks at this
if
spot
Jimmy
right
ain't hurt
here.
his ass and
The
Steph
Knicks
ain't
at six?
put
Yeah, I
hands,
got the
we
Knicks
beat
at
them.
Knicks at 6.
Are
Knicks
they the
have-
best team in the East to you? Or I mean, I'm think you probably have one team above them.
No, Cavaliers.
Okay. We're gonna get to that. Number 5 for me is the Minnesota Timberwolves. 5th in net
Better than the
rating.
Knicks.
Yes. I think
Interesting.
that
Shit,
the
I got the Mavs
Timberwolves
here.
the Timberwolves are being overlooked. I think that continuity matters. It's you don't always have to have the splashiest offseason. And the Timberwolves lost one player. It was Alexander Walker. Who do I think is ready to fill in those shoes and be better? Is Terrence Shannon Jr. Terrence Shannon Jr. played better than him in the OKC series against one of the best defenses that we've ever seen.
Well, Nikhil's their best matchup in the league MVP.
What?
Defensively. That's not true.
Nikhil Alexander was
You
getting
just-
cooked
He's their
by
best
Shea.
defensive
You
matchup.
just lied.
Best
That
matchup
was,
in the
though.
No, he
league.
wasn't.
He was getting fried
Who
by
was?
Shea though.
It was him or
Nobody.
AD. It was him or AE.
That's a good answer.
It was him or
Nobody.
AE. You
That's
just
a good answer.
lied.
Him or AE what?
Guarding actually. No, wait. You just blatantly lied.
About what?
What
What did I lie about?
How did you lie about that Shannon and all shit?
What did I lie about?
Saying Shannon was just so much better than him in the OKC series.
He was when he got ticked for
crazy.
sure.
That shit was crazy.
Terrence Shannon Jr. swung the momentum of games after.
No, swung a momentum in AE and Randall fucking choked it like dogs.
Facts. How much
What
he
are
had
you
on the
talking
bench?
about?
How much he had on the bench?
They like 25 of
He
them. He was
played-
hitting big
Yeah,
shots
he
after
was. You gotta
big
remember
shots.
that game.
TSJ played 39 minutes the entire series.
What?
He played 39 minutes the entire series.
Terrence Shannon Jr. He averaged 9 points.
Yo, bro, I hate you so much.
What?
I hate you so
What did
much.
what was
bro.
crazy about it?
Oh my god, bro.
Do you have the numbers in front of you?
Yeah.
Nikhil Alexander Walker, he played 30 minutes per game and averaged 11. Terrence Shannon Jr. played like 14 minutes per game and averaged 9.
You were just making fun of me for being a big numbers guy, and that was your barometer for who played a better
No,
series.
no.
When one was
No,
playing garbage
I'm
time in the
look-
second half of games they're down.
Terrence Shannon Jr. was playing garbage time? What are you
in
talking
the second
about?
half when they're
No,
down,
he
coming
wasn't.
off the bench.
No, he wasn't. What are you talking about?
This is the point. Nikhil Alexander Walker is playing a much larger role in that.
In the
series.
first 2 games, yes, he was because he was
Terrence
he was in
Shannon
a
getting
rotation.
game piece.
Yes. Okay.
That's how little he played.
Game 1 and Game 2, Terrence Shannon Jr. did not play. Minnesota lost those 2 games because Chris Finch stuck with lineups that clearly did not
game
work.
1 and 2?
Game 1 and 2, Shannon Jr.
Game
did not
2,
play.
Minnesota won.
I'm an idiot though.
No, game 1 and 2, Terrence Shannon Jr. did not play. Minnesota did not.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry. I'm
Minnesota
sorry.
won at home. You thought they actually won game 2? All right, no, you
Yeah,
didn't.
no, I'm sorry.
What are you talking about?
He
No,
didn't
they
play. You're right. He didn't play game
They
1.
were down 0-2 going into Minnesota. Terrence Shannon Jr. didn't play either of those 2 games. In game 3, Chris Finch decided to finally play Terrence Shannon Jr. because the bench lineup for Minnesota was getting waxed. The lineups with Naw, even in them, they were getting waxed. Terrence Shannon Jr. came into the game in game 3, not in garbage time, and he made the biggest impact in that game. What are you talking about? What did he have in game 4?
Game 4, he had 9.
He swung that series. What I'm telling you is they played different roles, and one player, in theory, by not playing the first 2 games, that's a player at the back end of the rotation.
Terrence Shannon Jr. swung the game in game 3. In game 4, he made a huge contribution off the bench. He was very good. And what my main point was that in that series, Terrence Shannon Jr. put much more pressure on OKC's defense than Naw did.
Hey, bro. Game 5, Naw had 23, 6, and 4.
Yeah.
They lost the game by 2 points.
That was the game that they lost.
Yeah.
That was the game that Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, my fault. Randall did not play well. Randall got benched and Anthony Edwards shot very poorly. How much did Shannon Jr. have in that game?
Oh, shit.
He made a huge impact. After game 2, when he didn't play, he played game 3, game 4, and game 5. He played really well.
And I agree. Those minutes were very impactful.
In 3 games. In 3
He
games.
had 9.
The third
In game 5?
9 minutes.
In game 4.
Game 5. God damn it.
Game 3, he had 15 in like 12 minutes.
Shots.
You said it was garbage time. It was not garbage time.
He went 15, because I'm not going to count the 2-point game. He played 2 minutes. He went 15, 9, and 11. He played 13 minutes, 7 minutes, 15 minutes.
Game 3, how many minutes did he play?
13 minutes.
Game 4, how many minutes did he play?
7.
Okay, game 5, how many minutes did he play?
15.
In those minutes, he was extremely impactful. He swung those games.
Yeah, but game 4, Naw swung that game.
Yeah, I know.
Mightily, him and Dante. So I can't.
But also in game 1 and game 2, Naw didn't shoot well.
Yeah. No, look.
Naw
game
didn't shoot
3,
well.
he swung the momentum off the bench. I said garbage time in the sense that he didn't play for 3 of the 5 games, or 2 of the 5 games.
Garbage, but you acted like his production was in garbage time when he didn't even play game 1 or game 2.
He just changed it.
They went down 0-2, and then that's when Chris Finch said we need a change. And Terrence Shannon. Okay, and what I said is that Terrence Shannon Jr. played much better against OKC's defense than Naw did.
But Naw only shot bad game 1 and game 5 because game 5 they got blitzed. Game 2 he had 17. He shot really well. He shot 62-75 splits.
Yeah, the role players, for some moments, they showed up. I think in game 1 and game 2, it was really Nas and Dante that they didn't play the best, and Nas didn't play well in game 1 either. I'm not saying Nas played bad. I'm not. I think Nas played good. But the difference in their offense is that Nas was catching and shooting and attacking closeouts, and Terrence Shannon Jr. was the main offensive guy for some possessions, especially when Minnesota needed a run to be made. Terrence Shannon Jr. put so much more pressure on OKC's defense. I think losing Naw is important. Naw was an awesome player for Minnesota, but I think Terrence Shannon Jr. offensively is a better player than him because of how much pressure he can put on the rim. He's so athletic. His first step is so quick that he can get by defenders. Defensively, we'll see where Terrence Shannon Jr. Picks his game up in year 2, but I think he's ready to step up for them. And they still have Jalen Clark. They still have Nas Reed. They still have Dante. So the reason I had Minnesota over the Knicks was because I think that they have still better depth than us. I still trust Chris Finch as a coach. And Julius Randle, when he got back from his injury, they went on a run and they were just rolling through teams. So I'm looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves with increased continuity, back-to-back conference finals, still have most of the same core. This is a team that we can't sleep on. And I think Terrence Shannon Jr. in the games that he played over 20 minutes per game in the regular season, he averaged 15.
Whether the Terrence Shannon shit really doesn't matter. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to be fine in his role. Like, I still think Dante and Nas Reed are going to be the bulk of the 6-man role.
Yes.
Terrence is just going to be that third guy to fill in for Naw. For me personally, I have the Knicks at 5. I can't put many over the Knicks after what they just did in the playoffs. And on top of that, just talking from a team perspective, I like the Knicks offense so much better. I think the Knicks offense is, especially, they were a top 6 offense last year with Tom Thibodeau, running the same shit every single game, every single play.
With a lethargic offense.
With Mike Brown, I think it's going to be a lot more sets. You're going to see a lot more creation, a lot more creativity. And I think that's just going to open up the floor for other guys. I do think continuity matters, but like the Knicks' continuity is probably at an all-time high with them making the ECF, with them playing the way they did, beating Boston, coming back and shit like that. So I think, and I do think Minnesota has continuity. So I'm not saying there isn't. Just for me, Knicks over Minnesota. I think continuity is there. I think they have the better coach now. I think Mike Brown is a better coach than Chris Finch. I think offensively, I like the Knicks pieces, and then their bench did get better. I do think Minnesota has probably the best bench in basketball, if not the best, winning the best, because you have Nas and Dante coming off the bench. That automatically shoots you up. And I don't think the Knicks have a player of that caliber. When you go through their starting five is just too crazy for me. So I have the Knicks at 5. I think the Knicks legitimately got better. I think they're going to solve a lot of issues with their coach, and I think that's going to propel them up. They may not have the defense of Minnesota, but I think offensively they're going to be one of the best teams in basketball again.
That's valid. The Knicks, Rockets, and Cavaliers were all kind of hovering 3 through 5 for me. I ended up landing with the Houston Rockets at number 5, and it was hard. I kind of had to split hairs because those 3 teams are so narrowly divided. But for Houston, I felt their biggest needs is going to be the playmaking in the half court and how much space they're able to support with KD, although I think he can overcome that in the regular season. So that'd be my number 5 team.
For number 5, I actually had the Mavericks. I had the Mavericks number 5.
So you were very high on the Mavericks this year.
Very high on the Mavericks.
I feel like you should be. Like, when you
They're
talk
deep.
about, well, obviously they're injured. So
I was high on them when
They're
they
deep.
did the trade, and then everybody got hurt.
I was too. I think I was with you. Dallas could make another run. I think injuries, like if you tell me right now you're not hiring them because of injuries, I think that's fine. I think that's fair. I think you have a whole thing with that. But I think if outside of injuries, if we talking about team depth, I think they're right there with Minnesota and shit like that, with the Knicks, with Atlanta. I think if you talk about starting 5, I think they're right there. I think if you talk about defense, I think they're right there. I think the only trouble you can have is probably their offensive creation outside of Kyrie and AD. That's probably the only thing. But outside of that, like I really feel like this team that they have right now is a legit elite team in the West for me personally.
Number 4, it was hard for me to go with the Rockets and the Cavaliers.
I had the Cavs.
I just was like, I'm going to trust the 64 wins of the Cavaliers and them being healthy more. So I had the Rockets at 4.
They beat them twice last year. Houston.
I have the Rockets at 4. I think Kevin Durant, obviously, he just makes them so much better. But like John said, I still have some concerns about the advantages they could create in the half court consistently in a playoff setting. And that's where I lean with Cleveland, and they have the injury problem. So just 4 or 3, I'll go back to back. It's Rockets at 4 and then the Cavs at 3.
Okay, I got Cavs at 4. I think they're still the best team in the East. Regular season wise, for sure, I think they'll propel to 55, 60 wins again. I think that continuity is there. I think their offense is elite. Definitely lost a little bit with Ty Jerome. Gonna see what you're gonna get from Lonzo Ball. Definitely still feel like they're lacking on the defensive side at the POA spot on the wings. But I still think, and I was watching the Donovan Mitchell interview with Taylor Rooks yesterday. Everything's gonna run through Mobley. Like they're begging and demanding Mobley to be more aggressive, to want to get the ball more, to hunt mismatches more. I think Mobley's development is extremely important for this team. I think he's made extreme jumps in his game every single year. Last year, we saw him be a little bit more fluid in his jump shot. We saw him be a little bit more creative in transition and, attacking mismatches and, being more aggressive, being more confident in his game. And I think this year we'll see another jump from him. But it's just the injury stuff. I feel like DG, he came back last year. You saw a great year from him. John, me and you, we never wavered from that. Then brother got hurt, fucked up his toe. Yeah. You saw him against Indiana. Bro was literally limping up and down the court, couldn't really move. And when you're a guard that small, you rely heavily on your speed, your pace. And when your fucking big toe is messed up, you really, what can you do? You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, Evan Mobley missed a game. So this team is, for me, it's the trust factor with them, and just because I feel like when you talk about the top 4, you have to be a little bit nitpicky. Mm-hmm. You have to get a little bit extreme with the nitpicking. I think for me, I look at teams that are in front of them. I think they're a lot more reliable. They're a lot more healthy. And 2 of these teams won the chip that are in front of them. So
I definitely tick the Mavericks just like with Kyrie's injury and just the durability concerns. I'm going to do the same exact thing for the Cavs. I look at the Cavs when healthy as a better team than the Knicks. That being said, I trust the Knicks more this season. For that, I had Cleveland number 4. And I thought you highlighted an important note that Lonzo and DeAndre Hunter are 2 best point of attack defenders, and I think they're good in those roles, but maybe not exceptional for what they're going to need to do in this conference. In New York, it really comes down to coaching and system, improving their personnel. And like you highlighted, I expect Mikal Bridges, one of you guys mentioned, Mikal Bridges having a better season this year. So with the Knicks, there are some guys like OG and Cat that miss time, but it's not as untimely as it has come for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, Lonzo Ball is a huge risk. Like, I like the move for them, but that, I
Who they
mean,
gave up, Okoro?
Okoro.
Yeah.
Yes, that was his. It was Okoro. It's a risk because he just doesn't play all that much.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And they need to rely on him. Number 2, I got the Denver Nuggets. New coach, added depth. I think they're the biggest threat to OKC in the NBA. I just think that Jokic is still clearly the best player in the world, and then now he has help. And then OKC's number 1, just coming off an all-time season.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say my 3. Sorry. So I have 3 Denver, 2 Houston, 1 Rock. No, 3 Denver, 2 Houston, 1 OKC. That's where I'm at with it. I do think Denver is the biggest challenge to OKC, though. I think just in terms of that matchup. But I do like how the Houston matches up with OKC. I think either series would be a 6-7 series. I do like both teams against them. But you mentioned it. You know, the Joker is still the best player in the world. He did get a little bit more help, although I thought he got a good amount of help in that series against OKC. Unfortunately, they just broke down and they couldn't. That Game 7 was not competitive at all. As for Houston, I feel like they got the experience they needed. You mentioned it earlier. Their X factor is going to be Amen Thompson. It's going to be nobody else. Their X factor is going to be him. They are relying heavily on him to kind of propel them to that next level. So I'm excited to see how that goes. And OKC, they brought everybody back. So I have nothing to say.
I got the Rockets 3, I got Denver 2, and I got OKC 1. I want to see how the season obviously transpires, but I don't know. I kind of feel like I would pick Denver over OKC. I know everybody's gonna call me crazy, but I think if everybody's healthy and the matchup's right, what Denver was able to do last year to take them being that beat down and them getting better and them having the best player in basketball, like I think there's a legit chance that the Nuggets could really win the championship.
Yeah, it shouldn't be crazy. They're right there. So I guess if anything, the Thunder found something in Game 7 with Caruso, but we'll see if they're able to replicate that.
If they're able to get away with that much physicality on a game-to-game basis. So 1 OKC, then 2 Denver for both of you guys?
I mean, I guess if I'm doing a really early prediction, I guess if I think Denver is going to win the championship, I should put them 1 and OKC 2, but OKC just won. But
yeah, no, it's out of respect. Now, every year we get a leap from 2 teams. This past season, the leap was from the Pistons, went from 14 to 44 wins. They did not make the playoffs the year before. They made the playoffs this year. The team in the West that did that was the Rockets, going from 41 to 52 wins. They just missed the play-in narrowly, and then they made the playoffs as the 2nd seed this past season. So what team will it be this year? What team that didn't make the playoffs is going to make the playoffs next year in the NBA? I want you to rank these teams. We're going to start off with the Eastern Conference. The Raptors, Nets, Sixers, Hornets, and Wizards. And I'm talking about they didn't make the play-in either. So teams that didn't make the play-in, how would you rank it?
Sixers 1.
I feel like the Sixers easily. For the East, it's a little bit tricky because I feel like the 4 teams we have are Cavs, Hawks, Orlando, Knicks that are locks to make the playoffs. So the East can go any other way. I feel like you mentioned, though, Sixers have to be 1. I think if they're healthy, they'll be back in the fold.
The Sixers are 1. Then that leaves us with the Wizards, Hornets, Nets, and Raptors. Who goes
Hornets
next?
are 2. So much talent. And
over the Raptors.
The most competitive team. Yeah, you got me there.
Raptors probably have more stability, but
Raptors
I like
are more eager to win games.
I like Charlotte as a wild card. I do.
Raptors 2, Hornets 3. I missed
too.
the Raptors in the call out.
And 4 or 5 between the Wizards and the Nets.
I think the Wizards are better than the Nets. I'm not even trolling.
For sure.
4,
For sure. I think so too. I think that's the worst team in the league.
Now for the Western Conference,
Spurs.
what team in the Western
Spurs,
Conference
Spurs.
didn't make the playoffs this past year, but is going to make the playoffs next season? We have 5 teams: Suns, Blazers, Spurs, Pelicans, Jazz. Who's number 1?
Spurs. I'm high on the Spurs. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year.
I would put the Spurs number 1 as well.
I think
High on the Spurs.
Spurs 1, honorable mention for 1, Portland Trailblazers. With the way they ended last year, the way their defense was great last year, especially after the All-Star break, their defense was great. They're just going into the identity. I do like it's a little bit projection with both teams. I feel like with them a little bit more because they don't have a Wemby. But Shaden Sharp, Scoot, Denny, I feel like Tumani Kamara,
Drew Holiday,
Donovan Kling, and Drew Holiday. Like I do like this team to make maybe not a playoff jump, but be really close to where Houston was. I want to say 2 years ago where they were close to the play and they was fighting hard. I feel like Portland can make that, but I'll have Spurs 1.
I feel like because we have the Spurs at number 1, like the fight is for number 2. John, between the Blazers and Pelicans, who would you go with?
Oh, Blazers easily. I'm not the highest in Portland. When I look at this Western Conference, I don't know if they make the play-in. If everyone were to stay healthy, which is unlikely, someone will get hurt. So I think they kind of find a way to get into that top 10. But the team that I think would be honorable mention going to be the play-in, like the Mavericks are most confident in making the playoffs. They're not, of course, on this list, but New Orleans has kind of been a little bit of this offseason, total, I wouldn't say disaster, but the job that Troy Weaver, their new basketball executive, did in Detroit was a disaster. And the fact that he's the lead decision maker possibly now in New Orleans, that gives me such little optimism in that team. So I look at the West. After the Jazz and after another team I'm blanking on, I look at them as a bottom 3 team in the conference.
We have the Spurs 1. We have the Blazers number 2. Number 3, you have more belief in the Pelicans or the Suns?
Nah, Pelicans.
Suns.
Suns.
Until they trade
I like the
Devin
Suns.
Booker. Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and then a good draft.
They want.
Suns.
Come on, Malawak.
Malawak.
I don't know.
Dylan
Rasheer
Brooks.
Fleming.
Jalen
Kobe
Brooks.
Bryant.
Jalen Green, the leading scorer on
Good
the
draft.
second seed this past
It's
season.
a good draft, but like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson.
For me, it's just
Yves
health.
Missi,
It's
like,
just health. for
yeah,
me.
I feel like the Pelicans are a better team than the
No,
Suns.
for
There's-
sure.
there's
They're
too
healthy
much,
for
there's
sure.
too much going on in New Orleans. They just threw a bunch of stuff at the wall.
I feel like that can still make
How
them
does
better
that-
than the
How
Suns.
does that fit?
Like the Suns aren't going to be that good.
But you
This year.
talking
Like, they
from
weren't that good with Katie and
From a paper,
Booker.
from
My
on paper
question-
standpoint, you think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with you. I think.
What is
Pelicans
the
will.
offense going to look like? You just drafted Derek Queen
Mhm.
and Jeremiah Fears. They're going to get playing time. They should be kind of focal points, but you have Zion, a lot of off-court issues.
How
a
much
lot of
playing time
concern.
is Fears going to
I
get?
don't even know if Zion's going to play, and that's another huge question. Trey Murphy and Herb Jones right in their respective roles, but if everything else around them is a total X factor, DeJounte coming off a torn ACL, and then CJ McCollum
it
is
was
still
Achilles.
CJ is still you might be right.
He's not on the team.
CJ's on the
CJ
Wizards.
Is on the Wizards. Thank you
Jordan
for
Poole.
reminding me. So you have Jordan,
Jordan
Poole in
Poole.
the mix now.
He's available.
So, very bizarre. It's easy. They've made so many different moves. In this last moment, I forget that Jordan Poole's on this team because
I
of
get
how
you.
many different things they've done this offseason.
Yeah, I get you.
So-
Don't they
I
got
feel like-
Sadiq Bey too, right?
I think like it's a good conversation because I feel like both teams have a ton of question marks. For the Pelicans, you mentioned them all, and that makes sense. I don't know how much, like, I don't know when DeJounte does come back, but I don't know if he does come back, how much playing time Jeremy Fears is going to get because you have Poole, you have DeJounte Murray. You're going to run a lot of Zion at the point guard position. You know what I'm
True.
saying? You're going to give Trey Murphy on-ball duties. Derek Queen might see a good amount of time because he's probably going to be the backup. Yves Missi is probably going to start.
Yeah.
But with the Suns, it's really just, can you rely on the health of Mark Williams? That's always going to be a question mark. Kamal Malawach is still a raw prospect in itself. I'd like Dylan Brooks on the wing
Mark
for
Williams.
them. Devin Booker is probably going to be, again, the primary ball handler. That's probably not something you want long term. You still want a point guard there. So really, I don't have a gripe with either one of these teams going in front. I think both of them have the same big, broad issues that both of why both these teams aren't going to be good.
You're
And-
right. DeJounte's going to torn Achilles, and he had torn ACL in 2018. So
It was the Achilles.
Two major
yeah.
injuries.
Yeah.
And the last team in the West is the Jazz.
Yeah, we
Pretty-
can punch
pretty
that in.
comfortably.
Yeah, we can punch that in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some major storylines after free agency. Just some quick hitters here that we have. Is Giannis closer or further away from leaving Milwaukee?
Apparently, he was big on getting Miles. So, like, he apparently, from the reports, what I've read, he was petitioning for them to get Miles Turner. He was in the know-all with Miles Turner. I didn't read that he knew about them having to release Dame to get him
he
though.
wasn't happy about that.
I know for a fact he wasn't happy.
That's the only way they can bring
So
it
he
around.
probably didn't know that part, but he definitely was in the conversations of getting Miles Turner. And not for nothing, I do think Giannis and Miles is a great like big man tandem. I think they'll fit extremely perfect together. They brought back Gary Trent Jr. They brought back Torian
Bobby
Prince.
Portis.
Yeah, they brought back Bobby. Well, he was never leaving because he was it was a player team option, some shit like that. But they brought back Bobby Portis. His team is still probably going to be a top 10 team in the East because of Giannis. But I don't know. Like he's given he hasn't given me any indication that he's closer or further away. I just know he's upset about Dame.
I would say he's further away from leaving. I would be in the same line of thinking. Miles Turner is an amazing fit. That's probably why Giannis wanted to play with him, so he doesn't have to play the 5, and he gets himself really a younger and slightly better version of Brook Lopez. The issue is that you're practically playing $50 million when you consider the fact you're paying Dame $20+ million to not play on their team.
That's crazy.
They have done everything they possibly can. They've made some good moves in the margins, yet in spite of all of that, there's no realistic path to this team contending, and for that, I'm going to have to say it's further away from staying.
This is tough because John Horst is a better man than me. If Giannis was surrounded by the roster that he's currently surrounded with and I was running the Bucks, I would trade him. I feel like that's the only realistic avenue
They
to
just
get
don't-
things back
They
for
don't
him.
own their future. That's the
They
problem.
You have
don't.
to trade for those picks.
And that's why
But they're all
I'd
scattered.
trade him to
Three of
own
them
my
are in
future.
Portland's hands.
Really?
But
So,
John
trade
Horst
him,
is
I
making
would
it clear
trade him.
that his number one priority is making sure that Milwaukee is keeping Giannis and making sure Giannis retires as a Milwaukee Bucks player. And I think Miles Turner was a step in the right direction because when you think about it, Damian Lillard coming off that Achilles, he was not going to play this entire year. So that's 50
A year over
million that you're just wasting for him not playing. And then you have to also take into account, how is he going to recover from it? Is he going to be the same player he's going to be? So that's $100 million over the course of 2 years. You'd be playing for a player that's not going to play that first year, and the second year is not going to be the same. So you'd rather stretch that over the course of 5 seasons and take that 20 million cap hit to your cap and then sign Miles Turner because it made them better. You know, I think with Dame being out for the year, getting Miles Turner makes the Bucks better for this upcoming season, but it also takes away their mid-level exception. They cannot use it anymore. And to John's point, now because of you waiving and stretching Dame and Miles Turner getting the contract that he got, you're paying Dame, Miles Turner, and Kyle Kuzma because he's not off the Bucks until the 26-27 season. Hey, not my favorite player. You're paying those 3 players, Kuzma, Turner, and Dame, upwards to $70 to $80 million for the next 2 seasons. And that's about 85% of your cap. Next offseason, the Bucks will get some assets. They'll get some first-round picks to trade. They also will have the mid-level exception available to them to add a quality player. But it just seems like the Bucks are still very much far away. This was a desperation move. This was a half-court heave at keeping Giannis in Milwaukee. And really, I think the ball is in Giannis's court. If Giannis is really truthful about what he said in the past, that he wants to win championships, then I think he is going to leave Milwaukee because there's no viable way to contend in the near future for the Bucks, in my opinion. But if he is going to stick by the team and he's content with at least seeing them continue to try to surround him with the team, I think he'll stay. I think right now he's further away from leaving the Bucks, but it still feels like very much the Bucks are in flux and his future is in question.
They just have nothing left in their championship team.
Yeah.
All of it is gone.
Well, Bobby Portis.
That's the one player.
Yeah. Shout out to Bobby.
They just traded Connaughton and
Oh, Pat's gone.
And they traded second-round picks attached
Yo, I've
to
deleted
Connaughton.
Pat Connaughton 2K so many times, I'd be forgetting he's in the league.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis,
Why?
Miles
I've
Turner,
been needing a
Bobby
spot for Brandon
Portis,
Jennings. I'd be putting him on the Bucks.
Gary
Wow.
Trent Jr. They released Ryan Rollins. They couldn't
Really?
keep him. Yeah.
they should
can't
try to
keep
run him
him.
back. If they have to on the minimum, that's their
Bro.
best perimeter defender at a point.
Only semi-good guy that can stay in front of somebody.
Yeah. Like, I think the best case scenario for the Bucks is that Kyle Kuzma plays well for them, and
He's
then
so serious.
they can trade him for something, for a player. Like, I think Giannis with
Should just leave, bro.
with 4 to 5 quality players can do something. Right now is Miles Turner.
Yep.
That's one. That's one like real high quality player. I think with the mid-level exception next offseason, they could add another one. That'll be 3. So now it's really just about filling out those last 2 spots with.
You wouldn't
in the
consider
starting
Bobby
lineup.
Portis a quality player?
A backup.
Quality
More so
backup.
depth, I
Okay.
think. So same thing. I view Gary Trent Jr. the same way as well. I think off
That's
the bench, he'd be really good. Starting a 2 guard. He played well this past season, but it just feels like the Bucks are very much in flux. And
Yeah.
it feels like they're extending this time period,
Oh yeah.
Hey,
even
listen,
though
it's
it
not
should
their,
be over.
It's not their fault. Like,
Well,
unless...
they've made some bad moves.
No, I'm not saying in that regard. I'm saying unless Giannis axes out, you don't trade a player of that caliber.
You should when his trade value is an all-time.
You
peak.
can't, bro.
Once he turns 30, every year matters much more.
I agree, but
and
unless...
every year that you do this, you're wasting the trade value to where he's gonna be 33, he's gonna start to decline. You're not gonna have an exit that's effective enough to set you up post.
I agree, but I think, like, franchise look at it differently when it's a guy who's brought the only championship to their franchise, like, in NBA history.
Broom
Like,
got one.
who?
Broom got one.
Oh, misspoke.
Yeah.
They're one championship in the last 40 years.
Last
I'd say
50
that.
years,
Yeah, like
yeah.
40, 50 years. So I think they view that player completely different. Like, and I think they're looking at, unless Giannis axes out, which also I feel like we got to look at him too in this regard. Like, you looking at the situation, you don't axe out. How can we just fully put 100% blame on the like organization in that regard? Obviously, they've made mistakes. Obviously, they fucked up. I agree with that. But unless he axes out, trading the franchise player and your best player in franchise history and the guy who's pretty much built your, city, it's tough. It's a tough position to be in, especially with the fans and stuff like that. So
I think that the Bucks, they've made so many mistakes. Number one, they haven't drafted a good player in 7 years. I think that's number one. Number two, the Dame trade was a massive failure. It was a flop.
Yeah.
They haven't even played together. They weren't healthy enough to play together. But I think you look at the modern landscape of the NBA, Dame is much better than this. So I don't want to just isolate him to this situation alone. But Dame is a guard that cannot play defense, that is going to average 20 any single given night. How many guards in the NBA right now can give you 20, play no defense, and do it efficiently? There's a lot. And I'm not saying they're better than Dame. Obviously, Dame is the cream of the crop at doing that. But when you're trying to build around Giannis, you need a defensive-minded guard. And I think them putting all their chips in the Dame bag, us knowing that's going to be a disaster defensively, it really put the Bucks back, because we have seen the return that Drew Holiday has gotten twice now. At first for the Blazers, what they got for Drew when they traded him to the Celtics, and also what the Celtics got. Like Anthony Simons, is not Dame, but if I'm the Bucks and I had to pick between getting Simons at 20 million versus Dame at 50, I think it's something you can think about, because you can fill out the roster better. Even if he's not the quality of player Dame is, you can fill the roster out better. So I think those are the massive mistakes that the Bucks have made. And now they don't have any assets for the future. Their cap is tied up to 4 players: Giannis, Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma, and then Dame. And Dame's not even playing for the team. It just seems like the end is nearing, and they're prolonging it.
KD talked about it. The small guard is dying in the league, and I think Dame is a part of that. A lot of these small guards, if you can't defend, it's going to be really hard, to keep you out there on the floor, unless, like you mentioned, you're giving them 27, 28 like a Donovan Mitchell every night. So, and especially him getting a year older, him already being up there in age, coming off an Achilles injury, it's brutal. A guy who is very active, very movable on the court, likes to move, come off the screens, hit off the dribble. It's gonna be tough. So, wishing Dame a speedy recovery. I'm excited to see what team he picks next offseason to kind of ring chase. I think he should have ring chase. I think it's time to ring chase. Dame, go ring chase. We're giving you that outing. But yeah, it's for the Bucks. You put yourself in this hole. See how you get out of it. You said Portland has all their picks.
They have 3 of them.
Giannis.
2 swaps and they're 9 picks.
They ain't gonna lit it up, But we'll see.
The interesting thing about where Dame picks next is there's a lot riding for the Bucks on this, because if Dame picks a team, depending on his contract, that's how much salary the Bucks will have available to use as an exception.
I don't think he'll get a lot.
Yeah, so like if Dame signs for the minimum, the Bucks will get like $700,000 of cap space opened up that they can use. But if Dame signs for like a $10 to $15 million deal,
I can see 1 year 15.
That opens up space for Milwaukee to use to get a player. So they're very much hoping that Dame doesn't sign just for the lowest possible number possible.
Now
they're hoping that he signs for at least something that can get them back some cap space.
Dame about his money, so you ain't giving him no one vet minimum. He gonna get at least 1 year $10 million.
So now we're transitioning to the NFL. John, your favorite player was traded on the Steelers.
Is he really your favorite player?
One of my favorite players.
Who's your favorite? TJ?
TJ or Cam Hayward?
Okay. Cam is gone. Well, he's gonna be retiring soon, so it would be TJ flat.
Yeah.
So Minkah Fitzpatrick got traded. What do you think about this? Do you think the Steelers are better now?
Well, first off, the trade caught me blindsided, because the acquisition of Jalen Ramsey's great in many respects. He's still one of the top corners in the game, and getting him with Joey Porter and Darius Slay, it's unique because it's going to be Ramsey most likely, who moves into the nickel, and they move him around the secondary. The trading Minkah component to this was what really threw me off, because when I compare him and TJ, I almost have more attachment to Minkah. He's from Jersey. He's been here homegrown since 2018. He was the anchor of our defense, the secondary, for the longest time. And trading him away, to me, is kind of like, as a fan of the team, it's a slap in the face, because he's been kind of the model Steeler since he's come in. He's been a great culture setter. And the last 2 years, you can highlight the fact that his playmaking numbers have taken a pretty significant drop. And I understand that he's not at that same exact level. Still a great player in my eyes. But what it really came down to for Pittsburgh was valuing a cornerback more. That has opened a gaping hole at safety now, and got a player in Ramsey who has not declined, but he's 2 years older than Minkah. So that's what really shocked me the most. That being said, do I view the Steelers as a better team since making this move? Maybe slightly, maybe a slight bit. I don't view it, though, as a move which changes their odds in the landscape of the AFC. And that is why, to me, I was like, the Steelers are going all into the season. They have Aaron Rodgers in 1 year, Darius Slay in 1 year. You get Ramsey. You get a third tight end who they don't fully use their top two in Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. So I wonder if Arthur Smith can get the most of Johnny Smith coming off a great season in Miami. And I don't know if the answer is yes, based off of what I've seen the last year. So for the Steelers offense, it seems like they're going to use Freiermuth more out wide. Johnny may be in line, even though he's not the best run blocker from what I've known. And with that being said, it's really a year the Steelers are going to go all in, and then next year they have all of their draft capital. Wow. But as a fan of the team, they have 10 picks next year to maybe trade up for a quarterback in the first round. As a fan of the Steelers, though, trading Minkah is heartbreaking because he was the best DB we've had since Troy Polamalu and Rod Woodson, and moving him, to me, it was kind of, I wouldn't even say bittersweet. It was a little bit heartbreaking because I'd want to see him play out his career in the black and gold. But I'm sure he's going to do big things in Miami still.
I was excited. I thought that we were going to get Ramsey, Minkah, Porter, Slay. I thought we were going to get an elite defense. That's what I thought we were going to get. And I think the Steelers still have a chance to do that. I think their scheme held back Minkah a lot. He had a lot of responsibility, and quarterbacks didn't test him, and that's why the playmaking numbers went down. This is going to be an exciting year for Pittsburgh, though. This is all or nothing. Like, JC, do you think that Aaron Rodgers still has enough to win a playoff game for the Steelers?
We know you do.
Win a playoff game, bare minimum?
I mean, it depends who they run into. Are they getting as a wild card and playing the number one or the number two?
Let me throw you some teams. Let's say they get in as a wild card, right? Because this is what Steelers do. They get in as a 6-7 seed, whatever, maybe a 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they play Buffalo, who are you taking?
I'm taking Buffalo.
Chiefs, who are you taking?
Taking the Chiefs.
Chargers.
Taking the Chargers.
Houston.
Texans. That'd be like the one team you're like.
That's the one team.
All right.
I'd still take Houston.
So realistically, am I missing a division? Oh, and Ravens, Bengals in their own division.
Bengals were better than them.
I agree.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Some people might not.
Bengals are a playoff team.
Oh, shit.
You said what?
The Bengals are not good.
Yeah, so it's a tricky for the Pittsburgh. Ramsey was good last year. Ramsey was good. Minkah was good. I saw this tape of some guy kind of talking about Minkah like messing up in coverage and always missing his assignments. Is always missing. His
Michael Smith. I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that, right? You saw the same.
Maybe because the defensive scheme is dog shit.
Yeah, so
did he get cooked in that video or no? The comments.
I didn't read the
comments. I saw the video and he was showing a lot of miscommunication.
He was,
but a lot of the time it was with like Cam's son as the nickel.
It was a lot of Minkah like on one side and he had to run all the way to another side.
He had
it was like
to cover a fire on the other side of the field because the nickel couldn't fucking
It really
cover
was
the
a lot of miscommunication.
Yeah.
Javon Holland went to the Giants.
He
did. So this kind of makes sense for the Miami Dolphins. They need a safety, bringing in Minkah Fitzpatrick. Jalen Ramsey still has it though, John. Him and Joey Porter Jr.
And Slay.
That's a sneaky little bit.
That's the best cornerback room the Steelers have
a little old, but it's a sneaky cornerback trio that you have to be excited about. With the Steelers, for me though, it's always going to be what is the offense going to give you? Because I feel like the Steelers can always pump out a good to great to elite defense. That's been Mike Tomlin. That's been his bread and butter. He knows how to get the best out of his guys. It's really just always going to come down to, of course, the quarterback play because you haven't had consistent quarterback play since Big Ben. And then, of course, the offense, like, you haven't had a consistently dominant receiver since probably AB. Like, Le'Veon Bell was also your running back. You really had it. You really had everything you wanted. And now you're kind of, like, trying to figure out what you can get. You obviously traded George Pickens. So, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, love the Ramsey trade. I think Ramsey's still great. I think their cornerback trio is going to be dope. I think safety, they'll be fine at safety. Of course, their defensive front four is going to be dogs. Their linebackers are really good. I think their defense is never going to be an issue. It's going to be, what can the offense do for you?
There's been trading needs all season. That's really my biggest takeaway. You get Metcalf and you trade away Pickens. You still have a glaring hole wide receiver too, and they're going to try to cover that in unique ways by playing 12.
Are you high on Roman Wilson this year?
We'll see. There was reporting last year which was really concerning about him struggling to learn the playbook, and then he had an injury in training camp and never really got on the field. I believe if he can figure out the help and everything else extracurricular wise in terms of the playbook, he could be a very solid intermediate threat. But we have to see him on the field.
What about Aaron Rodgers? Are you locked in?
We'll see. I'm not going to have any expectations to be quite
honest. There you go. Well, your expectation should be playoffs. Should be low-end playoffs.
It's the first time in a while I don't have expectations.
Oh, shit.
And maybe that's a good thing.
All right. So you're just watching as a fan. This is fan year. This is like...
Well, they've traded two of my favorite players. I have jersey owner of each, and I don't especially after that era where we traded AB and Le'Veon left and had all those players' jerseys as a kid. I was like, for me to buy a jersey of a player's level of attachment to them. Minkah from Jersey, St. Peter's Prep, gets to Pittsburgh, superstar immediately. And there's like a level of, all right, this is the best player at this position we've had in a decade. He's kind of the successor of Troy. So for those guys to be traded this offseason, Omar Khan is just trying to go all in. Doesn't really seem to have the player attachment value in it. And it hurts the fan a little bit. I know people will say, well, maybe it's not. To me, it doesn't make the team that much better to where it's worth it in my eyes.
Okay, there you go.
But
I like the value of Ramsey being versatile, playing outside, playing in inside, playing as safety. I think that we've seen all pro level talents transition into the safety position before, and there's no reason for me to believe that Jalen Ramsey can't do it. So I think that versatility adds value to the Steelers that Minkah didn't provide. And then you get an offensive player in John Smith who he was third in EPA per target. Pat Freiermuth was ninth, so you have two good tight end options. And I think the Steelers are going to want to run the ball a lot with Aaron Rodgers and kind of alleviate the pressure off of him. I still think Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, though. And I think that if he has the support of an elite defense, which he didn't with the Jets, and he has a solid offensive line, which he didn't with the Jets, I think he can give you winning football, and you can win a lot of games with him still. But that's the concern with the Steelers. The biggest one is the offensive line and what it can provide. But I think this trade was good. I don't really think that it benefited either team all that much. Like the Dolphins, you trade Ramsey, you now have a gaping hole at corner. You lost Javon Holland, so you basically just replaced Minkah with Javon Holland.
Should have kept both.
And then on offense, Darren Waller was like a surprise signing that they made.
Yeah, I thought he retired.
He did.
Yeah, he came back and he's playing with the Dolphins.
Bro needs some money.
Darren Waller, so he's back. I just think the Dolphins are also in flux, and they made this deal to get a little bit younger.
You ever heard the song?
Darren Waller, yes.
Is it good?
It is good. It's not bad. It's a Madden song.
He used to date Kelsey Plum.
Yeah.
Kelsey Plum.
They're married.
He did, yeah.
He got Gruden to bump to it.
He did?
Yeah, Gruden was bumping it with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I could dig that. Definitely he needs some money, I guess. Because what you mean you coming back after retiring? I feel like when you retire, you're kind of like, I'm settled in. I know what I'm doing. And let me stop pocket watching.
So we're the last topic of the show, breakout offense, defense picks. We're each going to pick one team who finished outside the top 10 on offense to be a breakout offense this upcoming season. My pick is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Which side?
Offense.
Okay.
We're going to start with offense first. My pick is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I want to have a little fun. The top 10. Do you have the top 10 EPA? Because I haven't.
I have the top 10 EPA, yes.
Okay. You're saying the Jaguars. I want you to just pick one team. If you had to pick, who would they kick out for?
What are the teams in the top 10?
So you didn't have the EPA list?
I don't remember by heart.
Okay.
No.
All right, so Baltimore was 1. Buffalo was 2. Detroit's 3. Also, you, John, I want you to answer this too. And you too, JC. Washington was 4. Tampa Bay was 5. Philly was 6. Cincinnati 7. Green Bay 8. KC 9. Arizona was 10. So if you had to pick one team for Jacksonville.
The Bucks.
Okay.
The
Bucks finished 5.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was due to who the Jaguars now have in Liam Cohen. Yep. I think it's the Bucks. I'm still high on their talent overall, but I look at the Jaguars and the Buccaneers going from Dave Canales to Liam Cohen, that was questioned a lot. They went from 12th in EPA per play to 8th in EPA per play, which is not drastic. You think, the Bucks offense was pretty good with Canales, but then you look at early downs and their efficiency there. The Bucks early down efficiency was 25th with Dave Canales. They were so elite on third downs, and Baker Mayfield made a lot of big time throws to bail them out. Liam Cohen actually brought an efficient early down offense, and when you look at the early down offense, they jumped from 25th on early downs, which is first and second down, to 5th with Liam Cohen. Baker Mayfield led the league in yards off of screen plays. There was a lot of play action. The running game also complemented him a lot. And now I look at the Jaguars with Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter getting easy completions, Trevor Lawrence getting into more of a rhythm, and Liam Cohen bringing in an established scheme to run the football effectively, and the Jaguars having ETN and Tank Bigsby. I think that's enough. I look at the Jaguars as a team that they could be a top 10 offense. They could be one of the better offenses in the NFL. And it's because of how high I am on Liam Cohen. There are some other honorable mentions that I could name, but I'll let you guys go. But the Jaguars are at the very top of my list, and it is one of the most excited. I'm the most excited to watch their offense next year and see what they do.
I have a few. I wanna get through. I was really excited about this topic list. So the first team I want to give some shout to the Raiders. I feel like the Raiders are an easy jump up. Got Geno Smith, who I think is a really good quarterback. Ashton Jeanty, Brock Bowers. You see what you can get from Matthew Mayer. That's his last name. Yes, that is his last name. Jacoby Myers, I think, is a really strong number 2 wide receiver. Maybe not a number 1, but can still give you quality. I think he was really good last year too. Offensive line, I feel like it's going to be solid enough where I think this Raiders team can get a jump. I feel like Geno Smith is extremely steady. He's somebody who really doesn't turn the ball over, can make those big-time throws. He was one of the best deep throw, big-time play quarterbacks last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like he's going to be effective. And Ashton Jeanty, like, it's a lot riding on it, but I feel like what we've seen in the last 4 or 5, 6 years is these top-end running backs come in and make immediate impact. You know, from the Saquon Barkleys to the B. Johns to the Jahmyr Gibbs. They've made immediate impacts when they come in. Another team is the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like this team, I hate them so much. I hate them with everything in my body. But one thing about this team is when Dak Prescott is healthy, when CeeDee Lamb is healthy, this team can generate a great to elite offense. I think bringing in George Pickens, I don't love or like their running back room. I don't hate it. I think it's okay. But I think the bulk of their work is going to be in CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Dak Prescott being healthy. I think the Houston Texans also is another team that, you know, they finished 21 in EPA per play, and that's probably due product to the play calling, the offensive line not being good, and of course their wide receivers being in and out the lineup for most of the year. They got younger in the wide receiver department. They've completely changed their play calling. I think they're going to be extremely better in the offensive line department because they were at the bottom of the league last year. So you can only get better from that part. And I think they're going to be a lot better coming out of second halves, adjusting. But the main pick that I have, I think, is the Rams. I think they finished 15th in EPA per play. I think getting Devontae Adams, being a little bit more healthy than what they were, they're going to easily jump into probably top 4, top 5.
That's valid. I like the Raiders shout out. I felt like they had a great offseason. Look at the coach, quarterback improvement, tight end room, of course, Brock Bowers, amazing rookie season, Michael Mayer behind them. You guys mentioned a couple of other teams as well. One team I want to give some credit to is the Carolina Panthers. Over the course of last season, offense got better and better. The run game, the offensive line were very damn good. And then I love the addition of Tent McMillan. I feel that the connection that he can build with Bryce Young this year will allow them to see their passing game kind of blossom in a way where last season Bryce Young was playing well, but the passing production still was not really noteworthy. I feel this year gaining a true X receiver that can take some of the pressure off of Thielen, Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette wasn't 100% healthy in his rookie season. All of those guys can play more natural roles, so the Panthers are a good shout. And there's a few other offenses too. I think the Cowboys are a great one as well.
I like the Chicago Bears. You know, I saw the rankings. They were 32 in the NFL in total offense. They were terrible. I like the head coach Ben Johnson that they signed. You obviously saw what he did with the Detroit Lions, helped build their offense, got Jared Goff playing to an MVP level some years. I think the Bears have a lot of talent offensively. I like the quarterback position, and I think there's a lot for him to work with. And I mean, it's definitely going to be an improvement because I don't think the Bears are going to be the worst offense in the league this year. So my Bears are my team that I think is going to take a big improvement offensively this season.
Yeah, a lot is riding on Caleb Williams. I thought his processing was a little bit slow at times. I don't think he had that many outlets. But now with Ben Johnson, you go from a quarterback in Jared Goff that in those play action situations under center, when you fake that handoff, Jared Goff is turning his back to the defense and he's looking at the defense and making that throw in seconds. Like he's getting that ball out super quick. For Caleb Williams on those exact dropbacks, he was kind of holding onto the ball for a little bit too long, not being as quick with his release. And that could be a coaching issue. So Caleb Williams, a lot is riding on him. Like Jared Goff finished top 5 in the NFL in time to throw off play action passes. Caleb Williams was the worst. It took the longest time for him to get the ball out in play action situations. And that's a big component.
To be
of Ben
fair,
Johnson's
also
offense.
too, like they wasn't generating good play calling for the wide receivers. So a lot of those times they weren't even open. Like it was these weak ass hitch routes, these post routes, and it was just like everything was all covered up.
Yeah, you guys mentioned every offense that I had written down. The Jaguars, Bears, Raiders, Texans, Panthers. All those teams I think have a chance to break out and kick out one of those teams in the top 10. Now, onto the defensive breakouts.
I got 3.
Onto the defense. The defense that I think is going to break out is the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
I'm very high on the Cardinals. They finished the end of last season very strong. They were 24th in EPA per play for the season. But from weeks 9 on defense, they ranked 10th. They ranked 6th in dropback EPA, and they ranked 23rd in rush EPA. So their rushing defense wasn't that good, but their passing defense was top 10 in the second half of the season. And you add Josh Sweat, you add Walter Nolan. This team desperately needed to add defensive line help. They did that. They also brought in Dalvin Tomlinson. And then through the draft, you draft Will Johnson in the second round. And I like Will Johnson. I like Garrett Williams.
Good
I like
value.
Max Melton. I like Budda Baker. I like Jalen Thompson. I like their secondary a lot. And I think this team could be one of the formidable defenses. And they're shaping out to have a really complete team with the offense finishing top 10 and then the defense finishing very strong. I think a big reason why the Cardinals didn't make the playoffs last year was really because of Kyler Murray. He shrunk in big time moments, but the defense more than held their own. And if they can be even better for the totality of the season, maybe the Cardinals have a better head start to where they aren't fighting and scratching and clawing to stay at the top of the NFC West.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of talent.
you know how I felt about Arizona last year. I really felt like they had a strong opportunity to win that division, especially with the Niners going down, the Rams starting off really slow. It was really them or Seattle at one point in the season, and they bottled those games. And I felt like the defense for Arizona showed up in those games against Seattle. Kyler Murray just made some blunders late in those second halves. I believe a game, it was like 13-7 one of those games, and Kyler threw an interception. So I agree with you. I think in the draft they went defense. I think Will Johnson, getting him in the second, third round, whatever it was good value as long as he's healthy. Budda Baker's still a top 10 safety in football. And they finished, like you mentioned, top 10 in offense EPA, top 25 in defensive EPA per play. So there's room to grow on both sides for sure.
I feel like you're gonna steal my defense. Can I go before you? I want to shout out one team. You got 3 teams. I've got
Okay, go
one
ahead,
team
go
that
ahead.
stands out because there's only one unit that really stood out to me as I can see this group overtaking a team that is existing in the top 10, and that one team to me was the New England Patriots.
Oh, I was gonna take them. All right.
That's why I wanted to do that, because that's the only team that stood out really to me. Mike Vrabel comes in Tennessee. We knew his defenses were some of the most physical in the NFL. And you look at their front, having Christian Barmore, who only played 4 games last year due to blood clots, and then you sign Millen Williams from the Eagles. You have Keon White. You look at the Robert Spillane addition at linebacker, and then the secondary as well, adding Carlton Davis or Christian Gonzalez. It's one of the best cornerback rooms. And then they're going to be one of the best teams stopping the run. They're going to get to the quarterback. So when I look at the hierarchy of NFL defenses and who I can see falling out, there weren't many teams. When among them, the Patriots being 22nd last year in defense, I feel like that's the most safe, comfortable bet for me to say that's going to be a top 10 unit.
Yeah, New England's a good pick. I wasn't gonna pick them. But nice that you jumped in there. One of the teams I was gonna pick was the Giants. I feel like, sorry, bro.
The Giants are going to be
No, the
good
Giants-
defensively.
Yo, offensively, the numbers aren't gonna show how good that defense is, because I feel like offensively it's gonna hold that defense back because they're still trying to figure out their quarterback position. I still feel like they need a little bit more weapons. And that offensive line is still a joke. But defensively, this team has talent. This team is gonna be scary on that side of the football. And I felt like if this offense was just a little bit more competent, then you would be getting a potential playoff team, or at least a team in the hunt at week 15 on. Another team I think is the Niners. I think they finished 26 in EPA per play, but they were banged up last year. They've gotten a lot younger this offseason. And on top of that, this is a little cheating, but they'll have an easy schedule. So them having an easy schedule is going to make their defense look a lot better. And I think the Rams is another team just because of the way they went to the playoffs. They went to the playoffs, and defensively, I feel like they dominated every offensive line they played outside of maybe the Eagles. And I feel like the Eagles, we still had a little struggle with that defensive line, and their defensive line is young with Verse and Fisk and Byron Young and stuff like that. So, and Kobe Turner, like this team is going to be better. Really with the Rams, it's all about health, but I feel like this defense is going to be a lot better than the numbers show.
You had the Giants, JC?
Yeah, I had the Giants. I like the Abdul Carter draft pick. I like them getting Paulson and Debo. I like them getting Javon Holland. I think they have the best, or if not one of the best, if not the best front seven. They generate a lot of pressure. I think they were second or third in the NFL in total sacks behind the Denver Broncos and another team that I'm drawing a blank on. I think this defense is complete. I think they upgraded the secondary, and they were 24th last year in total defense, and I can see them overtaking a couple teams, maybe getting to a top 10 just because they can get to the quarterback at just an elite rate. And then, like I said, they improved their secondary. Deontay Banks is not a number 1 anymore. You got Paulson and Debo. You got Javon Holland in the secondary, so I think they got better in all facets of defense, and they got the best defensive player in the
That
draft.
defensive line is going to be scary. You have Abdul, you have Burns, you have Dexter Lawrence, you have Kayvon Thibodeau still. Like, that defensive line is going to wreak havoc. I think the Giants, when you're a bad team, you have to have one side of the ball that is your calling card. You need to have a position group that you are a lead at. And I think the Giants have fulfilled that with their defensive line. They can count on every single game that we have a defensive line that can disrupt your offensive line so bad that it could throw off the timing of your entire offense.
Sure.
And that is going to be our strength. So the Giants are leaning all the way into their strength. And, you know, their offense might not take a big jump, but that defense might be so good that it's going to keep them in games. And, you know, I do think that the Giants, if they're in those close games, they can pull those out.
Yeah, that's going to be late November, early December, playing a game at MetLife. Probably the toughest pass rush to face in the cold. Especially if Abdul Carter is as great as he can be in day one. That's not a team want to play late in the season.
Also, they got Drew Phillips. Like, they still have young corners trying to...
That was their best draft in a while.
Trying to find their way. So, bringing in Javon Holland was dope. Like, I feel like Cordell Flott is another guy. Yeah, if they can just bank on the youth, which I think they've done that in the on the defensive side, it's really just the offense holding them back, man. They really got to figure that out.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick Side Podcast, episode 494. Now, the next episode might be in studio, depending. We might do an episode before we go out to Vegas. But if not, our next episode will be in Las Vegas, in our Airbnb that we have out there for Summer League. Did I say episode 494? I think it's 495. Yeah, so that was episode 495. Thank you guys so much. Yes, we are. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for supporting. You guys can like this video, subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. You can follow us on TikTok at Pick Aside Podcast, on Instagram at Pick Aside Podcast, and on Twitter at Pick Aside Pod. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.